What's going on, everybody? Thank you for being here with us. This is LTMB Live. I'm Will Gaillard.
And I'm Mike White.
Let the madness begin for show. Straight up. Straight up this time, man. Straight up. It's been a whirlwind of a day. It's been a day of nonstop testimony from Christine Blasey Ford and from Brett Kavanaugh before the Senate Judiciary Committee. Eyes were peeled. I'm sure much of the country was watching along as these events unfolded.
Yeah, no, I was, I think I was on Facebook and a live notification came. I forgot what news organization it was. Maybe it was Now This, maybe it was ABC, maybe it was NBC, whatever. On that one stream, there were 30,000 people.
30,000.
30,000 people on that one stream, on that Facebook live stream. And like I said, there were multiple news organizations covering this, so I'm pretty sure their live streams were just as packed.
Right. Like I said, it was captivating. It definitely was. Many people wanted to see Christine Blasey Ford, Dr. Christine Blasey Ford, in live action, because all we have seen up until this point is really one picture that's been disseminated by the media. And nobody has actually seen her, like I said, speaking, talking. So this on this Thursday, she was able to have the opportunity to tell her story, and she did. It was hours of testimony, and then it was about 45 minutes to an hour later. That's when Brett Kavanaugh's testimony began. So we're gonna handle this piece by piece because there is much to go over. We have several video clips that we want to show you. Because we're not sure if everybody was able to watch the testimony like we were all day long. I guess to proceed that there have been some other allegations against Brett Kavanaugh as well. We're going to talk about that a little bit later. But preceding this testimony, I believe it was yesterday. That Brett Kavanaugh provided some material to the Senate Judiciary Committee, I guess to prove that
to either prove that Ford is mistaken about the dates, and or he couldn't have participated in this event, this sexual assault encounter that has been I guess dictated by Ford, because of some sort of scheduling conflicts or something like that.
Yeah, so he provided the Senate Judiciary Committee with his school year calendar from back in the day, from the 80s, from 1982. And obviously he was still hanging on to them, or maybe his parents were hanging on to them or onto them for him. But again, he provided that, and copies of that were distributed by the media. This is one such image from June 1982. And looks like, this is a notated calendar. He made many entries, and this was pretty typical for Brett Kavanaugh, at least in the material that he shared with the Senate Judiciary Committee. So again, like Mike was saying, I guess this attempt was to prove that no such party that Dr. Ford was describing, he was a party to. He was not involved with. Personally, I believe it was a lame attempt because, first of all, okay, you know what? Because there's many things that we can say about that. But first of all, am I to actually believe that, what was he at the time? He was 17 years old at the time?
17 years old.
Am I to believe...
He's a senior.
Yeah, right. Am I to believe that he actually did write down every single event that he was a party to, like every single place that he had went to, every party? There's a lifting. Of course, that's easy though because he did it every other day. But everything that he was involved with throughout this summertime, he actually wrote down in his handy dandy calendar. Am I to believe that he actually did that?
And like most likely, that calendar is just not available to him. It's probably laying around.
Yeah, it is.
So his parents probably can see it. Mm-hmm. So if that type of party was to have been, I guess, scheduled in theory, it's probably not going to be scheduled on like something tangible. If that's the type of party he was going to, let's say he probably wouldn't put that on a tangible piece of paper where somebody could read it.
He actually even notated instances where he was grounded. So it's interesting that he would put grounded. Like if this is just for his eyes only,
see,
why would you put grounded?
That's kind of what I was hinting at. So obviously, if like these type of parties went on with heavy drinking and very coercive sexual encounters, which were, I guess, organized and planned by males, I'm pretty sure he wouldn't put that on the calendar.
Right. I don't think so.
Yeah, he probably wouldn't put that on the calendar. But like I said, like if I'm innocent of something, I want to make sure that I'm actually using, I guess, good rationale in defense of myself.
Yes.
Do you see what I'm saying? Like even if I'm innocent, you still have to provide good arguments. Like even like if you're like in court or something and you're a defendant, you still have to provide legitimate evidence that proves that you are not guilty. You have to make good arguments even when you're innocent. You see what I'm saying? So the court is not going to hear you. The jury and the judge is not really going to hear you out if what you're presenting doesn't, I guess, have any relevance to whatever the allegations are of whatever crime you're being accused of. And I'm pretty sure Judge Kavanaugh, he's a federal judge. I'm pretty sure if someone tried to come into his courtroom and offer that or offer a calendar as a defense as to why they couldn't have committed a crime, and they say, hey, see, Judge, you see this calendar? There's no crimes. I didn't plan out any crimes, right? You don't see any crimes. I didn't plan that out. So I couldn't have committed any crimes on that day. So I'm innocent, right? I'm pretty sure himself as a judge would like look at that and be like,
there's no way that's evidence.
There's no way that's evidence. I reviewed my calendar from last year. I reviewed my calendar. And nowhere in that calendar did I make a notation that said procrastination. This day I'm a procrastinate.
True.
This nowhere on the calendar all year did I write procrastinate. So therefore,
you didn't do it.
I didn't do it.
It didn't even happen.
I never procrastinated last year because it wasn't written on the calendar.
So again, but before we get to the testimony that was given today, again, yesterday there was a lot of news. We're not going to get to the allegations as of yet, but there were some former classmates, some former Yale classmates of Kavanaugh's that made some statements, and actually they felt some type of way about what they saw from Brett Kavanaugh in the Fox News interview that he did with Martha McCallum. And in that interview, he was projecting this choir boy image this pristine image, like you know, he was squeaky clean. He never really got into any trouble. He didn't drink too much. He didn't fornicate until it was well after he got into college. Just this good old boy type of lifestyle. This is just a good natured man, right? But again, some of his former Yale classmates kind of chimed in and said that's not really the case. So one of them is a woman named Liz Switzer, and she described herself as a friend of Kavanaugh in college. And she said that she was shocked to hear that he had stated that he didn't really drink too much, or he didn't drink to the point where, you know, he was very inebriated and maybe stumbling. And the reason why she was surprised is because she said that she drank with him. So this is her comment. She said, Brett was a sloppy drunk, and I know because I drank with him. I watched him drink more than a lot of people. He'd end up slurring his words, stumbling. There's no medical way I can say that he was blacked out, but it's not credible for him to say that he has had no memory lapses in the nights that he drank to excess. So again, this is coming from somebody that knew him. There's also another statement from Lynn Brooks, who was, but like I said, she was another classmate at Yale of Brett Kavanaugh. And in a statement, she said, he's trying to paint himself as some kind of choir boy. You can't lie your way onto the Supreme Court. And with that statement out, he's gone too far. It's about the integrity of that institution. So this just brings to light a lot of the things that we were saying in shows past. We were saying, like, why the effort to just clean up his image so much? It's one thing to say that you're not guilty of a horrible crime like sexual assault. That's one thing to do that. But if you're a 17-year-old kid, if you're an 18-year-old kid, 19, you know, you're in college, if you're a young man and you're engaged in excess drinking, if you're engaged in partying and blacking out
and spiking drinks,
possibly spiking drinks, if you're engaged in that type of behavior, then you would just say, well, hey, look, everybody has made some mistakes and bad decisions when they're 17, 18, 19 years old. I did drink too much at the time. I remember sometimes I was stumbling drunk, I can't remember some things. Why just try to erase all of that out of your history in the light of these severe allegations?
Yeah, because heavy drinking that involves blacking out or losing time or just being straight trash, that in and of itself doesn't always accompany sexual assault.
No.
So why?
A lot of times it doesn't. Most of the time it doesn't.
Most of the time it doesn't.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? It happens I'm about to say every weekend, but it's mostly
throughout the week.
It's throughout the week,
right?
Especially in college. But since it was in high school, so it was in high school and college. So I guess it's a little bit both. If we're talking about Kavanaugh, but like to me, you can have one without having the other. So why extract the entire ordeal? You see what I'm saying? Why extract everything? Like he could have gotten blackout drunk and not be guilty of sexual assault. Those two things could happen.
Yes.
Those two things can exist in the same space.
Yeah, you don't have to believe both of them one of them can be true, one of them can be false. If you don't have a background with sexual assault, then it just looks shady that, again, in the face of allegations of sexual inappropriate behavior, at this same period of time, you want to clean up your background to make it seem like you were on your best behavior at all times. You know
why that is, though? Because I think the whole choir boy narrative, Republicans know that is unraveling. They know that's unraveling, right? So it's like they have to do everything to take him out of that kind of environment, even though he was, at least, if he was not the one that sexually assaulted Blasey Ford, we'll get to that later. We'll get to some new revelations about some other possible suspects.
Right.
We'll get to that later. But if he had never engaged in sexual assault, that's fine. But what is clear is he was probably in that type of environment.
Uh-huh.
And I think that is
wisdom
what
would tell you that.
Wisdom would tell you, just looking at his best friend, looking at statements from his own best friend, one of his best friends at least, statements from people who actually knew him. He was at least involved in that activity of heavy drinking and possibly coercive sex, where they, you know, spiked the drinks of young ladies to have their way with them. So again, it appears as if that he was involved in that. And if you look at his own description of himself in his yearbook, his own descriptions and the tags he attached to himself, it does kind of indicate that he was involved in some of that.
Right.
Do you see what I'm saying? So it still looks bad. You can sit there and deny that, well, he wasn't, you know, involved in an actual assault, but then you can't deny that that environment was surrounding him.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
That toxic environment was surrounding him. But see, if you accept that, then you know what else comes in, though. Once you accept the fact that, okay, he was engaged and involved willingly in this kind of toxic environment of drinking and sex, then the next logical step would be, it was possible.
Right. It would lead you to doubt his story.
That's why they have to deny everything. That's why they have to deny, oh, he wasn't a drinker. He was a stand-up guy, never got drunk at all. And he just treated every girl with respect all the time. And he like walked around with roses and like recited poetry. Like they just go overboard. And that's the reason, because they have to, because if he was involved in any of that activity, it opens the door.
Yeah. All right, so let's get to the testimony today. Again, this was Christine Blasey Ford's opportunity to speak for the first time for herself and actually get her narrative out there, get her story out there, and explain what happened, you know? So this was part of her opening statement today at the hearing.
I am here today not because I want to be. I am terrified. I am here because I believe it is my civic duty to tell you what happened to me while Brett Kavanaugh and I were in high school. I have described the events publicly before. I summarized them in my letter to Ranking Member Feinstein and again in a letter to Chairman Grassley. I understand and appreciate the importance of your hearing from me directly about what happened to me and the impact that it has had on my life and on my family.
So what does that tell you, Will? Does that like tell you, I guess, is that a woman that is just trying to create an opportunity for herself?
No.
She must be like a really good actor.
Exactly. If you watched the testimony that was delivered by Dr. Ford, she came off as extremely credible. She came off as somebody that was very emotional about what she was speaking as well. I found that, you know, if I was comparing this to 1991 and Anita Hill. Now, back then in 1991, of course, we were very young, you know, very young in age, and I don't even remember seeing the testimony at that time. I don't think. Throughout the years, I saw a little bit here and there. I don't think even at this point I saw the whole hearing. But still, I've seen enough to know that Anita Hill came off as very credible as well. But with Anita Hill, she came off as, I think, more professional than Christine Blasey Ford. And one of the reasons probably is because, one, she was already in a professional space. She was a grown woman when these things happened to her as well. With Christine Blasey Ford, she was a child when this happened. She was 15 years old when this happened. So it has kind of shaped, let me not even use that kind of word. No, this has shaped part of her life. It has shaped who she has grown into be as a woman. And she has suffered many challenges because of what happened to her on that night. So when recounting these memories, you see that she's getting very, very emotional. And we have to understand what kind of position she's in, too. She's a very well-educated woman. She's in a very privileged position. So she really has nothing to gain from this. No. Again, she she had to move out her home. We talked about that because of the press. The media was all around her trying to ask her questions. Again, this is a woman who framed it as she believed that this was her civic duty to alert people who were going to be involved in the process of nominating Brett Kavanaugh to the bench, or even confirming him to the Supreme Court.
And when did that happen, Will?
When did this happen?
Yeah, when did she kind of make her push to alert the people that are of importance?
Right. She did talk about that.
Yes.
So the first time that she tried to get in contact with somebody, she did talk with some friends. She talked with some friends about what she should do, and she sent a letter, or actually I think she called her own congresswoman, and that's the Democrat from California, Anna Eshoo. That's her own congresswoman. So she called and she wanted to let them know. And actually, she also sent a letter, and it was a letter that was supposed to get to Dianne Feinstein. But like I said, the first contact that she made was with her congresswoman's office, and that was when Brett Kavanaugh was on the short list of Supreme Court candidates. This was not when he was the nominee.
Why is that? Why is that important for people to know?
That's very important to know, because the whole idea behind this is because this was political in nature. This was a Democratic strategy to delay the hearings, to delay the confirmation of Brett Kavanaugh.
To destroy the career of Kavanaugh, to destroy the career of a distinguished and good, moral, upstanding man.
Right. But her account is that she tried to alert somebody, and like she said, it was her civic duty. She felt she wanted the information to get to the people that were going to make these decisions before he was selected, so that somebody else could be nominated for that role, somebody else that had the credentials and the qualifications.
So it seems as if the way she went about it was very under the table.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
Because if she wanted to make a big stink about it, where would she have gone first?
Oh, the media.
The media. She would have gone to the
named
media.
herself.
She would have named herself. She would have gone to the media first, but she wanted to do it under the table.
Right.
So the people of importance could make a decision. The people that mattered, the people that were relevant into making the decision to hoist Kavanaugh as the nominee would think about it before they did it.
Right.
So it was up to them.
Right. Now, unfortunately, nobody got back to her in time, and Brett Kavanaugh was selected as the nominee. So at that point, she felt like she didn't know what to do. She still felt like, well, hey, I mean, she still felt she felt conflicted, because she felt like everybody is already behind him. Everybody's saying good things about him. It feels like it's a shoo-in that he gets confirmed. So she felt like if she comes forward, she's going to be in the way of a train that's already headed to its destination, and only she's going to be significantly harmed by that train. So what is why would she risk all of that? Why would she risk her life, her name being thrown out there? Why would she risk all that when that train is going to get there anyways? So she wanted all of this to stay confidential, and that's why the information did not come out. I keep saying Nancy because of Nancy Pelosi. Dianne Feinstein, she eventually got the information, but as the Republicans are saying, she sat on the information. She did sit on the information because she couldn't do anything about it, because Dr. Ford didn't want anything to happen with it. She didn't want her name to be public. So there was nothing really that Dianne Feinstein can do. She could just, I guess she could take that information into account in judging Brett Kavanaugh, but she didn't use that information to question Brett Kavanaugh. No Democrat used that information to question Brett Kavanaugh.
Isn't that interesting? So even with the letter being presented to congressional Democrats, they did not use it to question him.
Not at all.
So again, if this was some sort of political retribution, I don't know retribution for what, but some sort of political takedown, they would have at least questioned him on these allegations based on what they knew.
Yes, but that did not occur. So we're going to get back to the testimony, and this clip is of Dr. Christine Blasey Ford describing the assault in her own words.
Early in the evening, I went up a very narrow set of stairs leading from the living room to a second floor to use the restroom. When I got to the top of the stairs, I was pushed from behind into a bedroom across from the bathroom. I couldn't see who pushed me. Brett and Mark came into the bedroom and locked the door behind them. There was music playing in the bedroom. It was turned up louder by either Brett or Mark once we were in the room. I was pushed onto the bed, and Brett got on top of me. He began running his hands over my body and grinding into me. I yelled, hoping that someone downstairs might hear me, and I tried to get away from him, but his weight was heavy. Brett groped me and tried to take off my clothes. He had a hard time because he was very inebriated, and because I was wearing a one-piece bathing suit underneath my clothing. I believed he was going to rape me. I tried to yell for help. When I did, Brett put his hand over my mouth to stop me from yelling. This is what terrified me the most and has had the most lasting impact on my life. It was hard for me to breathe, and I thought that Brett was accidentally going to kill me. Both Brett and Mark were drunkenly laughing during the attack. They seemed to be having a very good time. Mark seemed ambivalent, at times urging Brett on, and at times telling him to stop. A couple of times I made eye contact with Mark and thought he might try to help me, but he did not. During this assault, Mark came over and jumped on the bed twice while Brett was on top of me. And the last time that he did this, we toppled over and Brett was no longer on top of me. I was able to get up and run out of the room. Directly across from the bedroom was a small bathroom. I ran inside the bathroom and locked the door. I waited until I heard Brett and Mark leave the bedroom, laughing, and loudly walk down the narrow stairway, pinballing off the walls on the way down. I waited, and when I did not hear them come back up the stairs, I left the bathroom, went down the same stairwell, through the living room, and left the house. I remember being on the street and feeling an enormous sense of relief that I had escaped that house and that Brett and Mark were not coming outside after me.
All right. So some of that we already heard in some different words thanks to the Washington Post story. Once her name was out there, she did conduct an interview with a reporter with the Washington Post. And like I said, a lot of that information we knew, but we did not see her actually speaking her truth. It's much different actually witnessing her speak the words than just seeing them in print. So again, like I said, she came off as very credible to me. You could tell again that it was something that she's very emotional about. There were panels, of course, media panels that were discussing her testimony today. And I saw some on MSNBC, CNN, Fox News, and every single panel that I saw was saying she looks incredibly credible. She's coming off incredibly credible. And specifically on Fox News, they were saying things like, this could not be worse news for the Republican Party because of how she's actually performing.
And I think that the Republicans were hoping that she would crack.
Yeah.
Because this, her testimony is coming on the heels of her polygraph.
Yes.
Which
correct.
It didn't indicate any deception.
That's correct.
Obviously, polygraphs are not admissible in criminal court, but they are in civil court, and this is somewhat of a civil court, whether the preponderance of evidence is definitely not the same. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, this is not a criminal proceedings at all. One thing that interested me, again, on within the Fox News coverage, Fox News' Chris Wallace, he stated that in light of these allegations against Brett Kavanaugh, his own two daughters have come forward to him with some high school stories of their own that he had no knowledge of whatsoever.
I think that's very important because, you know, a lot of cases, children do not reveal to their parents where they go, what parties they go to, naturally. This is what makes the whole calendar thing even more ridiculous, because if his own daughters are coming to him about, hey, these are some experiences that we've had, and these are the things that we're involved in that you don't know about. So I'm pretty sure that Kavanaugh has had the same experience growing up.
Every kid pretty much has that experience, no matter if you are
rich, poor.
Yeah, rich, poor. If you are sheltered or not, you have freedom. It doesn't matter. At some point, you're going to hide some things from your parents, especially things that you may feel ashamed about. And we know that in the cases of sexual assault, a lot of these individuals feel like they bear some of the guilt.
And if the sexual assault happened somewhere they know they weren't supposed to be and doing things they weren't supposed to be doing, then they're even less likely to come forward.
Because then I think an understanding parent would not say you weren't supposed to be there. I think the understanding parent would be like, we're going to deal with the crime. You know, we're going to deal with the crime, the injustice that you suffered. But for that young kid, could they possibly be thinking, man, they're going to say it's my fault because I wasn't supposed to be there? You know, we're
and it's not just
kids.
the parents that are going to go there. It's unfortunately our representatives that go there too, because isn't that like kind of the first place people go? Well, she was there drinking too, or she was there to have fun. I was like, yeah, just like most kids, and like we kind of outlined at the beginning of the show, there are plenty of instances where people get together and drink and get blackout drunk and get trashed, get smashed or whatever. And there's no rape involved. So a lot of people were questioning her because, well, she was at a party with a lot of boys. Like, she was at a party with a lot of drunk boys. Why was she at a party with drunk boys? Because typically, I think there's an expectation of safety when you're around your peers, regardless of whether they're drinks or not. People having fun doesn't always mean that rape can happen.
Yeah, they're not expecting danger.
They're not expecting rape simply because there's alcohol involved.
So Dr. Ford, she also explained in her testimony why this actually came to light, like why she actually ever mentioned it to somebody else, because she has, we have read in that Washington Post story that she never talked about this to anybody, and it was in couples counseling in 2012 that she actually named Brett Kavanaugh, and she actually was able to say, like, this is what happened to me. She had mentioned to her husband, I believe prior to getting married, that she was the subject of physical violence or sexual assault.
6 years before Kavanaugh was even considered as a Supreme Court nominee.
Right. So this is now again. So we already knew that she did. She brought up that revelation in 2012, but we didn't hear why. So this is Dr. Ford explaining why that revelation came out of her. Relevation. Did I say revelation?
You said relevation.
Yeah. Anyway, all right. So this is Dr. Ford.
The reason this came up in counseling is that my husband and I had completed a very extensive, very long remodel of our home, and I insisted on a second front door, an idea that he and others disagreed with and could not understand. In explaining why I wanted a second front door, I began to describe the assault in detail. I recall saying that the boy who assaulted me could someday be on the U.S. Supreme Court, and spoke a bit about his background at an elitist all-boys school in Bethesda, Maryland. My husband recalls that I named my attacker as Brett Kavanaugh.
So, again, this happened in 2012, and again, that was the first time that she actually named her attacker, and that came up in couples counseling. Now, after that, in individual sessions that she had with her own therapist, she did talk about it several occasions, but it was something that she says that she was trying to push out of her head because, of course, it was too traumatic. The memory, she didn't want to deal with it. She didn't want to deal with the anxiety, the claustrophobia feelings that she was experiencing. But again, I thought that explanation was compelling. I thought it was very interesting because, again, we've been hearing all along, why this come out now? Oh, this is a Democratic ploy, blah, 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 blah. No, seems like there were steps to this process. The first step is Dr. Ford, as a 15-year-old girl, not wanting to say anything about this because she felt ashamed. She also tried to rationalize it and saying, well, you know what? I wasn't raped. I did escape. Let me just push it out of my head. And she explained, too, that in the immediate years after the attack, after the assault, she was struggling. She went to the University of North Carolina at Chapel Hill, and she explained in her first 2 years, she really struggled as a student before she actually, pulled her studies together, pulled herself together, and then she was able to graduate. And, then she went on to do other things.
What is that saying about her, though, when Republicans, especially, or in particular Lindsey Graham, say this whole saga is a Democratic ploy? Mm-hmm. It's kind of a very side way, a very indirect way of saying something about Ford as well, right? Yeah. Because wouldn't she have to be in on it?
Yeah.
Because it's easy to just say it's a Democratic ploy because typically in this team sports of, American politics, you're going to have that thrown around. Mm-hmm. Oh, this is a Republican ploy. Oh, this is a Democratic ploy. So it's expected. But in this case, we have a lead actor, a lead actress.
Right.
And
it would have to be.
So she would have to be included and participating with the Democrats in this ploy. But she's the one who turned the letter in confidentiality, right? Mm-hmm. And she's the one who called her congressperson.
Right.
So she initiated this. Right. She had no contact with Democrats before this. So how is this a Democratic ploy?
You would just have to believe that she is a very deep operative of the Democratic Party. And she has been lying in wait for years. There was one exchange that she had with Democratic Senator Leahy that was difficult to watch. I felt it was very difficult to watch, and I think people that are survivors of sexual assault, it was very difficult to watch. But I feel that just any human being looking at this exchange that she had with Senator Leahy, like I said, it was very difficult to watch. I can't say anything more than that. So let me play that.
What is the strongest memory you have? The strongest memory of the incident, something that you cannot forget. Take whatever time you need.
Indelible in the hippocampus is the laughter, the uproarious laughter between the two, and they're having fun at my expense.
You've never forgotten that laughter. You've never forgotten them laughing at you.
They were laughing with each other.
And you were the object of the laughter?
I was, underneath one of them while the two laughed. Two friends having a really good time with one another.
Like I said, that's difficult to watch, especially knowing that, at such a young age, she experienced an assault. When I'm looking at that, I'm feeling emotional. I'm feeling that as a human being, watching somebody who is now in her 50s, still dealing with the pain that happened to her some 35, 36 years prior.
And I think that's why the Republicans are attacking Democrats, because they know they can't attack her, even though not directly. So they kind of have to play the political game. Oh, it's just the Democrats doing this and the Democrats doing that. But if you look at, like, I guess the narrative surrounding the encounter from her standpoint, as well as her testimony today, it does kind of put them in a bad position. You know what I'm saying? Yeah.
Because again, when she was away from the cameras, you know, when it was just her print words, you can be as combative, you can be as aggressive as you want to be.
You can grandstand.
Yes.
Being, you know.
Yeah. But now that she's actually there and you see her emotion, you see that she is credible as an accuser. It's harder to, I guess, summon those aggressive feelings. It's harder to lead with your chest as it relates to her account. There was also some words by Sheldon Whitehouse, the Democratic senator from Rhode Island, that we wanted to play and then talk about.
I submit that never in the history of background investigations has an investigation not been pursued when new, credible, derogatory information was brought forward about the nominee or the candidate. I don't think this has ever happened in the history of FBI background investigations. Maybe somebody can prove me wrong, but it's wildly unusual and out of character. And in my view, it is a grave disservice to you, and I want to take this moment to apologize to you for that, and to report to anybody who might be listening that when somebody's willing to come forward, even under those circumstances, even having been not given the modicum of courtesy and support of a proper investigation, you've shown yourself particularly proud in doing that. And the responsibility for the decision to have this be, I think, the only background investigation in history to be stopped as derogatory information came forward, belongs with 13 men: the President, Director Wray of the FBI, and the 11 members of the majority of this committee. As to the committee's investigation, the fact that Mr. Kavanaugh's alleged accomplice has not been subpoenaed, has not been examined and cross-examined under oath, has not been interviewed by the FBI, tells you all you need to know about how credible this performance is. The very bare minimum that a person who comes forward is owed is sincere and thorough investigation, and you've been denied that, and I will make a personal pledge to you here that however long it takes, in whatever forum I can do it, whenever it's possible, I will do whatever is in my power to make sure that your claims get a full and proper investigation, and not just this. Thank you for being here.
Thank you.
And to me, what he is saying is, and I think he's being very responsible in referring to them as claims, but at the same time being respectful to Ford. Yeah. He's just saying, okay, these claims have a lot of meat to them, and more should have been done to look into them, and an investigation should have been done. And it didn't sound like he was establishing any kind of guilt on Kavanaugh's part, so he did a really good job of just respecting Ford's claims as well as respecting Kavanaugh and not assigning guilt. He just says, hey, like, there's enough here to at least warrant an investigation. So if that can at least happen, maybe we can clear some of these things up. And if there isn't an investigation taking place right now, to me and to him, that probably looks suspicious, right? Because maybe something might be uncovered. Because if the FBI and their resources and the amount of resources they have, they might end up uncovering more than than the media and reporters and investigative journalists have uncovered.
Right. Senator Leahy, when he was when he was conversing with Dr. Ford, he said that 27 years ago he believed Anita Hill, but he worried, or actually, I don't think he said he worried, but I believe he was saying that he actually realizes that much less is being done for Dr. Ford than even was for Anita Hill. And that is referencing the investigation. Back then in 1991, the FBI the background check investigation was reopened by then President George W.H. Bush. H.W. Bush. That's the same thing that should be done here. Again, like you're saying, that you feel like there's enough meat on the bone. She seems like a credible witness. So why not? There are multiple different people that need to be talked to. The friend of Brett Kavanaugh, Mark Judge, he has made statements. He has made sworn statements. And a lot of these Republicans have pointed to that. Hey, he said he has no knowledge of his party. He said he has no knowledge of any assault. So that should be good enough. No, that's not good enough. Just, I guess, submitting a written statement is much different than appearing before Congress and actually giving your testimony. Another thing that Dr. Christine Blasey Ford said was she estimated about 6 to 8 weeks after the incident, after the assault, she saw Mark Judge at a local Safeway. It was at the Potomac Village Safeway, and he was working there. She said that when she went inside, she noticed he was there. She went through the door. She saw him. He saw her, and she said hello to him. And from her words, she said he went, quote, white, and he looked very nervous, and he looked like he was even ill. So what she was saying about just that particular situation is that if these senators, particularly the Republican ones, if you want more information as to when this happened, possibly where this happened, then an FBI investigation would probably give you more answers. Because, as she said, this was probably about 6 to 8 weeks after the incident. So if you're able to track down Mark Judge's employment, which she already stated where he worked, if you're able to track down when he worked there, that might give you some more information about like when this possibly happened. The Republican senators are saying, hey, look, she looked credible, okay? But so does Brett Kavanaugh. So this is pretty much uncorroborated. We don't have any evidence as to where this took place. We don't have any evidence as to when this took place. We don't have any evidence to the exact year this took place or the house it took place in. So if you want more evidence, maybe try doing things that would get you that evidence, like an FBI background check investigation.
So they somehow were willing to dig up 65 people in 24 hours, which is unbelievable, and we know didn't happen. So they were willing to do the work to find 65 people, 2 of which have, maybe even more, but two that I know of have kind of withdrawn their names. Right. But we already know that they are willing to do an investigation in some form of fashion, right?
Correct.
Whether it be in 24 hours, which again we don't believe, but we know they did their own investigating or their own searching, and they found individuals that knew Kavanaugh when he was in high school and got them to sign letters. So they're not above doing some sort of searching or investigating. They've done that. So I guess the searching and investigating you're talking about probably would be a lot easier, right?
Probably would.
Probably be a lot easier. And
more thorough.
And you bring up Christopher Wray and the FBI, that hints at possible subpoenas. That's what we're talking about.
Yeah.
But for me, if Kavanaugh is true to his word and wants everything to come out, then everybody involved in this encounter that Ford has divulged to us, then everybody involved in that should come forward. So it's not just Kavanaugh alone, because he's not the only one involved in this story. And this story has ballooned to the point where now we're talking about like an environment. It's not just Kavanaugh, it's his friends, it's his classmates.
And we're also talking about like you said, we're talking about his friends as classmates, right? So we're talking about his credibility, not just as it relates to, okay, in this particular incident, it's he said, she said. No. You know who else needs to be subpoenaed? The friends that I was talking about at Yale. The what was her name? It was I believe it was Liz Switzer and Lynn Brooks. Liv Switzer and Lynn Brooks. How about you subpoena them so they can testify as well, because they have a different account of his behavior while at Yale University, right?
And as a Supreme Court nominee, wanting your name to be cleared, if that were me and I was not guilty of anything, I wouldn't even wait on the FBI.
That's correct.
I get on the phone with my friends and say, "Hey, man,
gotta appear before. Let's go to the hearing.
Let's go to the hearing, man, because if you can vouch for me, you know what's up with me. Exactly. You know I wasn't involved in any of this stuff."
Yo, wouldn't you, the primary figure?
Kavanaugh.
Yeah, that's the one. But the second one,
Judge. Mark Judge.
There is no way that Judge should be away from these proceedings. There's no way he should be hiding out in Delaware. He should be right there in D.C. giving his testimony. The whole imagery of him being absent during these proceedings,
that looks suspicious.
Is horrible.
And like I said, that looks bad on Kavanaugh too, because you would solicit this friend of yours who was implicated with you.
Right.
Wouldn't you want that person there alongside you
to deny
the allegations and clear their name and your name?
Exactly.
Like Kavanaugh should be the one to initiate the contact for all these people who were involved. The FBI actually shouldn't even get involved. If Kavanaugh wants to look like he is an honest player in this, you would think he'd be bringing all these people forth. Right. You know what I'm saying? Because one thing that stuck out to me in his opening statement was he talked about, he believes the accused should have a voice and their story should be heard. I knew something was coming as soon as he said that. I was like, okay, what is he going to say next? You know what he said next? He says, but the accused should have an opportunity too. Like victims and people who are the accusers should have their opportunity to speak, but the accused should have an opportunity to tell their story too. And I'm like, dude, you're doing that right now. He said that as if he was not at that moment speaking to millions of people. He said that as if he didn't already go on Fox News to defend himself.
That's correct.
And
before this even took place.
And what makes that comment more disingenuous about the accused having their say, it just relates back to what we were just talking about. He is not the only one. So if he's true to that and he wants the accused to have their say and to have their voice heard, where is your boy Mark Judge?
Right.
If that is true, it can't just be about you. It has to be about all the players who were there and present. So why isn't that true for Mark Judge? Shouldn't he have a chance as someone who has been accused to speak his piece and to clear his name? Right. That's why I think what he said was totally disingenuous. He also said in his
hold on, we'll get to a lot of his testimony in a minute. I just want to finish with her testimony. During her testimony, Senator Dick Durbin, he pointed out, well, actually this was a statement. He said, quote, "A polished liar can create a seamless story, but a trauma victim cannot be expected to remember every painful detail." So she admits that there are holes in her memories. Now, again, like Senator Dick Durbin stated, if she really wanted to impress the Senate Judiciary Committee, there would be no holes. This would be cleaned up. This would be buttoned up. This would be just spotless. She would be able to. She would actually recount every single detail. What music was on in the room? How many steps were in the on the staircase? How she got home. Just different things, like what clothes were they wearing. She didn't go into all those details.
We've been to parties and gatherings over the years. And in a lot of the cases, we weren't like blackout drunk, were we?
No.
Now, do you remember everything from those gatherings?
No.
No. We don't.
No. And
we don't.
What their point is that if this left such a, like, if this was such a pivotal moment in your life, then I guess the memory would be very sharp and you would be able to, you know, remember more details. But that's not how it works. You remember the most important details. I believe it was Senator Kamala Harris that asked the question in a different way. She said, "Tell me some things you don't forget." And that's when she stated she didn't forget the staircase. She didn't forget the bed being on the right side of the room, I believe. She didn't forget the bathroom being across from the hall. The music, you know, these were the them banging off the walls, like going down the staircase, you know, when she was in the bathroom. These are the certain things that she remembers. The laughter, of course. So of course, like there are going to be some things that just takes precedent. Those are going to be the most painful memories. So of course, like other things are going to fall off more time that, you know, goes by. What we were talking about before and what you alluded to was, I believe it was yesterday, that there was another narrative, or actually maybe not another narrative. There was guilt being thrown in another direction. So it was in a late night news release on Wednesday night by Senator Charles E. Grassley. And he stated that he had been talking to two unnamed individuals, two unnamed males that actually came forward and stated that they believed that this was a case of mistaken identity, and they were actually the two males that accosted Dr. Ford in 1982 when she was 15 years old. They came forward. One of these males had actually like written a letter to the Senate Judiciary Committee. I believe he had spoke with the Republicans at least once or twice. And again, this is them coming forward to attest to sexual assault.
Interesting. So when did they come forward?
I believe it was this weekend, maybe. I believe it was maybe Monday. Maybe it was Sunday.
Right as this whole thing was coming to a head.
Right.
And I'll use kind of the same rationale that a lot of people use when it comes to people who come forward with rape allegations or sexual assault allegations. Why didn't they come forward sooner?
If they're going to come forward now, why wouldn't they come forward?
They come forward like
so if they feel some type of way, like, oh, we're guilty. You know, I got to get this off my shoulders.
So guilt prevented them from coming forward sooner. Isn't that kind of ironic? Because if it was true and they wanted to just nip this in the bud, they would be like, oh, snap. This Supreme Court nominee is being accused. Well, we got to do this immediately.
Right. To think that this is a case of mistaken identity, to think that there were two men that just came forward and want to just offer their guilt.
Do they have anything to lose? They have nothing to lose right now because the statute of limitations on that event has run out, and they were most likely minors anyway.
I don't buy it whatsoever.
Yeah. So, but I think it's interesting that they doubt Ford could have a clear picture of the account when she was drunk, and it was 30 years ago, right? Her story is unbelievable. There's no way she could remember any of that from such a long time ago, and she was intoxicated. But somehow two men from that same time,
same event,
their recollection of that event is accurate.
Yes.
They remember.
Yes.
So they're willing to accept that.
Yeah. So it bolsters her claims. It actually lends credence to her claims. Her claims by themselves. Oh no, we can't. No. That's false. No. 30, 35 to 36. No. Two men come forward and say it was us. We tried to rape you. Now we believe you.
Yeah, because see, I guess the view about Ford as it relates to how Republicans have, I guess described her is not just that Kavanaugh is innocent, not just that Kavanaugh is innocent, but her story is completely bogus, right? Yeah. That's kind of how this thing has been framed. It's not that, just that Kavanaugh is innocent, that these events didn't happen. She's making it all up.
Right.
So now if they're saying that, hey, we believe these two gentlemen are the real rapist or the real attempted rapist, by kind of presenting these two men, they are saying that her story is true.
Right.
But see, like I said at the beginning of the show, I guess their choir boy narrative surrounding Kavanaugh is unraveling, so they have to do something. They're I guess they consider the likelihood that Kavanaugh was involved in these type of activities, so they have to find a way to take him out of the picture at a particular party, because they can't, as of right now, they can't deny that he was involved in parties like this. They can't do that. So what else can they do but just take him out of this one situation? Oh, it wasn't him. It was somebody else, right? Or some other people.
Yeah. And there was also actually there was some other narrative being spread where it was I believe it was like a Brett Kavanaugh lookalike. I didn't hear a lot about this, but this was actually mentioned during the testimony. Dr. Ford didn't want to get into who the individual was. She didn't want to name him because she felt that was unfair. But she said that no, it wasn't him, and actually that individual was one that introduced me to Brett Kavanaugh and Mark Judge. So no, I'm sure. And actually, so we have some video of her fielding a question about if she is sure of the two people that she named, if she is sure that those people are the ones that were present and or were responsible for this sexual assault. And also she's talking about the Safeway incident where she saw Mark Judge as well.
I'm asking you to address this new defense of mistaken identity directly. Dr. Ford, with what degree of certainty do you believe Brett Kavanaugh assaulted you?
100%.
100%. In the letter which you sent to Senator Feinstein, you wrote, I have not knowingly seen Kavanaugh since the assault. I did see Mark Judge once at the Potomac Village Safeway, where he was extremely uncomfortable in seeing me. Would you please describe that encounter at the Safeway with Mark Judge and what led you to believe he was uncomfortable?
Yes, I was going to the Potomac Village Safeway. This is the one on the corner of Falls and River Road. And I was with my mother, and I was a teenager, so I wanted her to go in one door and me go in the other. So I chose the wrong door because the door I chose was the one where Mark Judge was, looked like he was working there and arranging the shopping carts. And I said hello to him. And his face was white and very uncomfortable saying hello back. And we had previously been friendly at the times that we saw each other over the previous 2 years, albeit not very many times. We had always been friendly with one another. I wouldn't characterize him as not friendly. He was just nervous and not really wanting to speak with me. And he looked a little bit ill.
How long did this occur after the incident?
I would estimate 6 to 8 weeks.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
So yeah, she's very sure of who she named. She's very sure that it was Brett Kavanaugh that is responsible for this attack. And she was also very specific about the Safeway, which she saw Mark Judge in. Again, she estimated it was about 6 to 8 weeks after the attack in which she saw him. On the investigation, Senator Kamala Harris, she pointed out that Dr. Ford, she did call for an FBI investigation. She did take the polygraph test, and these are things that have not been done by Brett Kavanaugh. These are things that have not been done by Mark Judge. These are things that have not been called for by any of the Republican senators. So again, it just leads more credence. It just makes you believe her story even more. When you see her speaking, when you see the things that she is saying, when you hear the things she is saying, and then when you see the absence of the same, I guess when you see the absence of the same
I guess, actions that would prove someone credible.
Yeah, when you see the absence of the same attempt to get to the truth from the Republican side, from Brett Kavanaugh, from Mark Judge.
Yeah, because she
when
kind
you
of
see that, it's like, okay, there's a difference here.
She stepped out on a limb.
Yeah,
and she put herself out there and like, hey, I'm willing to take a polygraph.
Yeah.
But Republicans are more worried about who paid for it.
Yes, and we're gonna get to that. Actually, we can get to that right now. So, during the testimony of Dr. Christine Blasey Ford, the Republican senators did not question her at all. It was a prosecutor that they hired to administer this hearing. They hired her to deliver or to ask her, Dr. Ford, all the questions. So the Democratic senators, each one of them, they had about 5 minutes to converse with Dr. Ford. But all the Republican senators, they left it in the hands of attorney Rachel Mitchell, who is from the Arizona area. She's a sex crimes prosecutor. She conducted all the questioning. And I believe the 3 main attempts that were used to try to discredit Dr. Christine Blasey Ford was, 1, focusing on the flying issue. Okay, and we're going to break these down a little bit at a time. So focusing on the flying issue, like can she fly, can she not fly, who paid for the polygraph test, like you said, and then the political motivations, like when and why she came forward when she did, right?
Yeah, like when did you request the FBI investigation?
Right.
Did you know any of the questions I was going to ask you?
Correct.
Like really,
Stuff like that.
Really just like really odd questions.
Yeah, it was odd questions. But again, she answered the when she came forward and why she came forward back then in 2012 and 2013, and then summer of 2018 in July, why she came forward, and when she came forward was before Brett Kavanaugh was the nominee. Now on the flying, so I believe it was Charles E. Grassley that was asking her if she knew that the Republican member, or actually I believe the whole Senate Judiciary Committee, or maybe their lawyers, they had offered to come to her. They had offered to come to her in California to question her. And she said that she didn't understand that was that was an opportunity, like that was an option for her. So they believed that she couldn't fly, and so the prosecutor, this Rachel Mitchell, she was going at her a few times, asking her like, okay, well, you've been to these different places, right, and you can fly there, certain times you've gone on vacation, you can fly there, and you did end up flying here. So I guess the effort was to poke a hole in the story of the weariness that she felt, or like the anxiety that she felt as attributed to this assault, and how it is referenced in her fear of flying.
But again, they were trying to project anxiety onto her as it relates to, her not wanting to fly, or they assumed she didn't want to fly. They didn't really understand her mindset in the first place. Yeah,
she doesn't like to fly, and that's what she said. Now, when she has to, she does. And I think she made it pretty clear that, like, it's a different feeling when she's going to vacation. She's not under any pressure. There's no kind of like anxiety, but for being in the plane. But here, she was going to like hell. You know what I'm saying? She was going to a very difficult situation where she was going to have open up about what happened to her 35, 36 before. Years before.
You say hell. That's a good way to describe it, but I was just thinking something very important.
Yeah. That she was gonna, like, it would be a pressured situation. She would feel anxiety.
It just seemed as if, like, hey, they were bringing this Mitchell woman on here to just, like, not just poke holes in her story, but to me, to just act as a distraction. Yeah. Like, to just get through this hearing. Like, we're just going to put somebody up here to just kind of antagonize her in a very soft way.
Yeah. The polygraph, like you were talking about, who paid for the polygraph?
Who's going to pay for, like, it's not just like, it wasn't just the polygraph, like, who is going to pay for it? Like, who's going to pay for your lawyers? Right. Have you set anything up to where you can pay for it? And her lawyer stepped in and was like, right now we're gladly doing this pro bono.
That's exactly
but
right.
I'm thinking, like, all these questions are irrelevant.
No, but see, they're very relevant to the Republican narrative because again, they're trying to spread the idea
that's the
that
Democrats.
This
so
is
it's
a
like
political
who's paying? Like
strategy.
who's paying for it? Again,
So what they're expecting is that did Dianne Feinstein? Did she pay for this? Did she pay for the lawyer? Did she pay for the polygraph test?
So even though there's not a really distinct like accusation,
Right.
like the question itself kind of suggests that.
Yes.
But yeah, it was.
It didn't pay off. Again, in the format that was showcased today during this testimony, the senators had about 5 minutes each to question her. So again, I told you the Republican senators didn't question her at all. They left it all to the hands of Rachel Mitchell, the prosecutor. So it was very weird. It was very like uncomfortable because Rachel Mitchell, she would question her for about 5 minutes, but she wouldn't finish like that line of questioning. And then she'd have to stop and it would go to a Democratic senator. And then the Democratic senator would, talk to her for about 5 minutes. Then she'd go back to Rachel Mitchell and then she'd continue the point that she was trying to make. It was ridiculous and it did not land. Whatever they were trying to accomplish, whatever they were trying to do and try to poke holes in her story or in her credibility and to try to frame this idea around the political angle, it didn't work whatsoever. It was horrible.
And you can tell like all the line of questioning that was being asked by Mitchell was to kind of set all that up. One question that did stick out to me was when she said something like, did any of your lawyers speak to any member of Congress on your behalf?
Right.
And Ford was like, no, like not that I don't know. I don't think so. Not that I know of.
Right.
Mitchell's follow-up question was, well, do you think anyone did?
Right.
I was like,
yeah.
And like Ford was like, what?
Now, it's interesting that you brought that up, too, because at the very beginning of Rachel Mitchell's, her questions to Dr. Ford, she told her a few things just so that she could be clear. One of the things that she told Dr. Ford was she's not going to ask her to guess.
To guess. Exactly. But that question is asking Ford to guess. Not just to guess, but offer some sort of like gross speculation.
Right.
Like, do you think somebody did speak? Like, she already said, no, not that I know of.
And one of her lawyers caught that, and they chimed in. They said, "Hold on. At the beginning, you told her that you weren't gonna ask her to talk about things that may be possible or ask her to guess about things, and she told you she doesn't know. So, can we be done with this line of questioning right here?"
Because I mean, if you want to say, if something's possible, anything's possible.
Anything's possible,
but
right.
She was hoping that she would say yes, it's possible, and that yes, it's possible answer would have meant yes, it did happen. That's what she was trying to get out of Ford, which is so deceptive. But again, it didn't work. It fell through the cracks.
Towards the end of the whole testimony, towards the end of Rachel Mitchell's questioning, she even alleged herself, the prosecutor herself alleged that this isn't the best way to question somebody, is to sit down with somebody in private and just let whoever is making the allegations, just to let them talk and then try to clear up any confusion along the way. So yeah, she recognized that this was a complete ridiculous kind of performance. Like, this was a ridiculous kind of structure to I don't know, do whatever they wanted to do.
Well, when you don't want an actual structure, this is what it turns out to look like.
Yeah.
Because they did not want any structure to this. Because if they did want structure, they would have requested the FBI's assistance so they can subpoena the other parties involved. That's what would have happened if they did want structure. But since they didn't actually want structure, it turned into a circus on their part.
What it is. It was a circus, man. All right, so we'll get to Brett Kavanaugh's testimony. If I can be Brett Kavanaugh, he had a longer opening statement. His opening statement it was almost an hour, actually. It was maybe about 50 minutes long, something like that, maybe a little bit more. For anybody that saw his behavior during his testimony, during his question and response, especially towards the Democratic senators. This dude was very combative. He was indignant. He was interrupting. This was somebody that looked angry. And I will state that, look, if you have been falsely accused of something, and we haven't gotten to the other allegations, but if you have been falsely accused of several different horrible crimes, no doubt you would feel some type of way. No doubt you would feel angry, because it's not just going to be hitting you, it's going to be hitting your family as well, because we've heard that they've been getting threats. You know, of course, the reporters are trying to be all over them. So you're definitely going to feel angry, and you're definitely going to feel encouraged to clear your name. But in the way that he displayed himself at this hearing, I think he did himself a disservice by, like I said, by interrupting the Democratic senators, by just being so abrasive in the way he really went about his testimony.
What's most interesting about that is when Lindsey Graham was, I was going to say questioning him, but Lindsey Graham was pretty much licking his asshole.
Yeah.
But Lindsey Graham made it a point to refer to this kind of confirmation hearing and these line of questioning as a job interview.
Right.
And I'm like, wait a second. Like, and Kavanaugh agreed. I think he asked, like, you think this is a job interview? And Kavanaugh was like, yes. And I was thinking, I was like, okay, if that's the case, then why did you behave in that way? Why did you kind of interact with the Democrats in that way, the ones who were questioning you? Like, if you really think this was a job interview.
Right. Because if it's a job interview, who's going to be the one judging you? It's not going to be just the Republican senators. It's going to be the Democratic senators on the Senate Judiciary Committee and the senators that aren't on the committee as well. And you have to appeal to all of them.
Oh, I'm glad you said that. I'm glad you said that. You used the word appeal.
Appeal.
And when you apply for a job and they look at your application and they say, this seems like a quality candidate here. Let's call him in for an interview or a confirmation hearing. Who is the one who does the convincing? Who is the one, or who does the convincing? Isn't the employer? Who does the convincing?
The prospective employee.
Yeah, exactly. The prospective employee has to convince this
the employer
that you're worthy of being hired or confirmed. In this case, it's like 100 times more. It has 100 times more gravity. This is not just a regular job. This is a lifetime appointment to the Supreme Court. So you would think that this type of job confirmation, the prospective new hire would make it a point to appeal to those who are ultimately making the decision.
Right.
Not, you know what I'm saying, not just one side.
No doubt. I've been seeing more people talk about this like it is a job interview, because it is. He essentially put in his job application to become a Supreme Court justice. That's essentially what he did here.
Not a damn cashier.
Not a cashier.
You know what I'm saying, at a retail store.
Right. So we talk all the time when we talk about law enforcement in this country. We talk about officers having to be held to the highest degree. Like, they have to be held accountable. There has to be transparency. They have to deal with the highest level of scrutiny. We're talking about the Supreme Court, the United States Supreme Court. So again, it's not just like a cashier. So when we're talking about a situation like this, you have to deal with. Before I say that, I've seen a lot of these Republican senators talk about rule of law. That was one thing that I believe Lindsey Graham talked about. He talked about he's using the rule of law, and Dr. Ford's claims are uncorroborated. Again, these are not criminal proceedings. You do not have to hold him, like, you don't have to have a reasonable, like, you don't have to convince anybody beyond a reasonable doubt that Kavanaugh is guilty. We're talking about the United States Supreme Court. I believe there was somebody on CNN, one of the panelists, that said, look, if you're trying to hire a babysitter, and I believe you might have said this as well, you're trying to hire a babysitter, and you actually call somebody in for the interview. They look good, you know, they have an impeccable record, but then you see that there's three cases, or at least there's 3 accounts of them abusing babies or something like that. There are 3 accounts of them abusing somebody else. Now, they say they are innocent. There's nothing to corroborate the claims. What are you gonna do?
You just don't say, well, that was a long time ago.
Yeah.
You would not say that.
So you can't prove that it didn't happen, but you can't prove that it did happen as well. So you're here just like, okay, I'm just gonna take his word. No, I think I've said before, there's no way for me to know 100% that Brett Kavanaugh is guilty. Okay, like I said, I do believe that Dr. Ford's claims are very credible. She seems like a very credible person. I believe that she was victimized, right? And I think it does suggest that she was victimized by Brett Kavanaugh as well. Again, I can't prove it beyond a reasonable doubt. I'm not 100% sure. When you're talking about the Supreme Court, that along with other allegations, which we still haven't got to, that along with those and other things, the defense mechanisms that Republicans have used, that Brett Kavanaugh has used to defend himself, when you group all of that together, we're talking about dirty water that I don't want to be anywhere near. We're talking about, you don't want to leave such a stain on the Supreme Court of the United States. So you need to get gone quick, fast, in a hurry. And you need to bring somebody else that has just the same kind of credentials and qualifications and try to get them through the process. This is the United States Supreme Court, okay? You don't want to leave that long-lasting stain upon it. And if, I will say this, I will even go this far. If Brett Kavanaugh, if these Republicans and President Trump and Brett Kavanaugh still want to go forward, then you can't rush through the process. You have to actually clear his name, and you can't do that on Thursday. You can't engage in testimony on Thursday and then vote on Friday and clear his name. This is going to have to take days, weeks, maybe months to actually clear his name. If you don't engage in that type of behavior, there's no way to remove Brett Kavanaugh from that significant stain that he's going to put on the Supreme Court.
You engage in what kind of behavior? Reasonable behavior?
That's what I see. That's what I mean.
That sounds reasonable.
Yeah.
If you really want to clear Kavanaugh's name, then you'd be like, you know what? Like, let's do the things to definitively clear his name.
Right.
But see, what they don't want is more stuff to come out. That's probably what they don't want.
Because if you lengthen this process,
more stuff might come out, whether it be more new things or more information about the things that have already come out.
Correct. All right. So let's just get to. We talked about on the last show one of the women that had penned this letter, one of the 65 women that penned this letter. Her name was Renata, and I believe it is Renata because I believe that's the way that Brett Kavanaugh said it. So it's Renata Schroeder Dolphin. So we talked about on the last episode, and we talked about his yearbook, in which there was a caption that it was 9 football players, and the caption read Renata alumni. And then even on Brett Kavanaugh's personal page, and we showed that a little bit earlier, it said Renata alumni. So this is Brett Kavanaugh explaining what the Renata alumni meant.
One of our good female friends who we would admire and went to dances with had her name used on the yearbook page with the term alumnus. That yearbook reference was clumsily intended to show affection and that she was one of us. But in this circus, the media has interpreted the term as related to sex. It was not related to sex. As the woman herself noted to the media on the record, she and I never had any sexual interaction at all. I'm so sorry to her for that yearbook reference.
That's interesting. I wonder if they use that terminology for anyone else, like their male friends. If he wants us to believe that, maybe he should offer some material of maybe his male friends using that amongst themselves. You see what I'm saying? Because she was one of us. That makes no sense.
It was a term of endearment. Does anybody actually see? This is what I'm talking about. The effort to actually defend himself. You have to call that into a question. Why is he lying? Anybody, especially any man that ever went through teenage years, you know exactly the meaning of what that was. You know the exact meaning of Renata alumni. It was intended to boast about something sexual. And there were even 2 classmates that attributed, that actually stated that exact thing. Anybody that has gone through teenage years, like I said, especially men, but women too. And that's the feeling that she got seeing that. She felt disgusted seeing that. And he actually said later on, because he was asked about this later on as well. He said, Kavanaugh, by bringing up Renata, quote, "You're just dragging her through the mud." You are dragging Renata through the mud. The Democratic senators are dragging Renata through the mud because they're trying to understand how your explanation makes any type of sense. Because what it seems to be is that you were trying to brag about some type of sexual prowess. Like you were trying to brag about your sexual successes.
It's interesting that he just focused on that, but there was other stuff within that yearbook too. Like he didn't address the treasurer of the 100 Keg Club.
That's right.
He didn't address that.
Nope, he did not. There was also the Beach Week Ralph Club. He did address that because they were asking him, and he said he had a weak stomach. He said everybody that knows him knows he has a weak stomach. So when he drinks and even when he eats spicy food, he has a weak stomach. So that's what that was about. So one thing, and I don't have the clip of this. One thing really struck me in his opening statements. Kavanaugh, again, like I said, he was very, very indignant, very angry, right? And I believe that's something that Trump wanted to see. He wanted him to see Kavanaugh fight back. He wanted to see him aggressive, and Kavanaugh definitely showed him that. But one thing he said during his opening statements was that this whole thing regarding Dr. Ford and possibly the other allegations was political retribution, but he specifically noted that it was revenge for the Clintons.
Revenge for the Clintons? But when you're talking about revenge or retribution, you're suggesting that you did something. Or is it just since he's a part of the Republican Party?
I believe so. He stated that this was revenge for the Clintons because of Hillary Clinton losing the election, maybe because of Bill Clinton being impeached. Okay, this is what he's thinking.
Okay, let's unpack that. Or let's try to at least. He could say that, but then he would also have to admit that Ford is in on this too.
Yes, he would have to.
You can't say that without saying that other part too.
Yes.
You can't make that claim without including that piece, which he did not include. If you want to say that it's some sort of retribution, you then have to say that Ford is a part of it and is willingly participating in this retribution. Mm-hmm. You know what I'm saying?
I have one name to throw out there. Neil Gorsuch. Why did Neil Gorsuch go through this? If this is political retribution, if this is revenge for the Clintons, Neil Gorsuch was the first Supreme Court nominee to be confirmed, the nominee of President Donald Trump. Why did this not happen for Neil Gorsuch?
No allegations similar came out about.
No.
Damn, I forgot. I totally forgot about that. I totally forgot about the fact that there was no scandal at all.
None at all. It's amazing. That's absolutely amazing. So I believe at this point, now we can get to Senator Lindsey Graham, and I think I saw L Train talking about Senator Lindsey Graham and his performance. Senator Lindsey Graham was on one. He definitely was on one. He was feeling himself.
Too much.
Way too much.
He did his best Cory Booker impression.
He did his very best Cory Booker. This was political grandstanding to a T. So we're going to show some of the video from his turn, his crack at the mic, when he was able to question Brett Kavanaugh. So we're going to show you this clip, and then we'll come back and talk about it.
Did you meet with Senator Dianne Feinstein on August 20th?
I did meet with Senator Feinstein.
Did you know that her staff had already recommended a lawyer to Dr. Ford?
I did not know that.
Did you know that her and her staff had this allegations for over 20 days?
I did not know that at the time.
If you wanted an FBI investigation, you could have come to us. What you want to do is destroy this guy's life, hold this seat open, and hope you win in 2020. You've said that, not me. You've got nothing to apologize for. When you see Sotomayor and Kagan, tell them that Lindsay said hello, because I voted for them. I would never do to them what you've done to this guy. This is the most unethical sham since I've been in politics. And if you really wanted to know the truth, you sure as hell wouldn't have done what you've done to this guy. Are you a gang rapist?
No.
I cannot imagine what you and your family have gone through. Boy, y'all want power. God, I hope you never get it. I hope the American people can see through this sham, that you knew about it and you held it. You had no intention of protecting Dr. Ford. None. She's as much of a victim as you are. God, I hate to say it because these have been my friends. But let me tell you, when it comes to this, you're looking for a fair process. You came to the wrong town at the wrong time, my friend. To my Republican colleagues, if you vote no, you're legitimizing the most despicable thing I have seen in my time in politics. You want this seat? I hope you never get it. I hope you're on the Supreme Court. That's exactly where you should be. And I hope that the American people will see through this charade. And I wish you well, and I intend to vote for you, and I hope everybody who's fair-minded will.
Big round of applause for our senator.
Oh,
South Carolina.
South Carolina's own.
Represent.
Yo, what I wish I had right now to present Lindsey Graham is an Academy Award.
Oh, yes. He needs one. He deserves one.
He deserves an Academy Award for that. Like Cory Booker, you have competition now.
I think he's eclipsed him. Because this was on a... We're talking about Cory Booker on a very small stage trying to rep Medicare for all. All eyes are on these proceedings. And damn, he showed his ass.
Like, it was hard to follow because he was jumping all over the place and he was saying things that didn't even make sense. Like he would never do this to, I guess, a Democratic nominee. But I'm like, I have somebody in mind. You might be thinking of that same person. Because he claimed that the Democrats wanted to hold this position. They wanted to hold this position until the midterms.
You're talking about so you're trying to find some kind of comparable
situation.
I
just can't seem to name that person in that situation.
What about that Merrick Garland fella? What about that fella? That was 2016, right? That is right. You remember when Obama had about a damn year left?
He had a year. Because your boy Scalia died in January, February.
Yeah.
I can't remember, but it was in the beginning of the year.
It was about, I think it was about 11 months.
11 months?
Yeah.
So he had 11 months. So it was a year left in Obama's presidency. And before he would officially hand over the reins to Donald Trump.
So he's still a president.
Still a president.
For a year.
A year.
And the Republicans, Mitch McConnell, Charles E. Grassley, the Senate Judiciary Committee's chairman, said, there's no way we're even going to consider Merrick Garland. There's no way he is going to even get a hearing.
So, They didn't even afford him an interview. They didn't even afford him an interview. They didn't even go that far. They were like, no, we're not going to interview anybody. That's what they said. You can put up anybody. It doesn't even matter.
But didn't Senator Graham just say, you want power so bad? I hope you never get it. How bad did the Republicans want power to deny President Barack Obama his nominee a hearing?
Just a hearing. They didn't even want to go through the process of just saying, nah. They didn't even want to do that. They could have just said, okay, we'll hear you, and just go through the process and just, go through the charade and just say, nope. They didn't even do that.
They didn't even go that far, man. Yeah, like I said, this was political grandstanding, and even before, I believe it was before, Brett Kavanaugh had his turn on the mic and, to give his testimony. Lindsey Graham was in the halls, and he was talking, and he said some other things. He was saying Democrats have politicized the situation by not alerting the Republicans on the committee. Same thing that he said in that clip as well. He said that an investigation could have happened earlier, but now he doesn't want to reward the Democrats because the midterms are coming, and he feels as though, I guess, the Republicans are on shaky ground, and it's very possible that the Republicans might lose leadership in the Senate. So he doesn't want to reward the Democrats for stalling the process. Again, we have stated the Democrats had no other choice but to stall because Dr. Ford did not want her name coming out. She didn't want an FBI investigation at that point because her name wasn't out. She didn't want to get in front of that moving train that was heading to its destination anyways. So what could Senator Dianne Feinstein do but sit on it?
But again,
it wasn't until her name was leaked, that's when she said, you know what? I'm going to put my story out because if this is going to be discussed in the media, then I'm going to come forward.
But again, this is another instance where Lindsey Graham is kind of, I guess, trying to not publicly show disdain for Ford and just cast it onto Democrats.
Right.
Because he's kind of like putting it on them. Well, y'all should have called for an FBI investigation.
Yeah.
But I'm just like, wait a second. That was the wishes of Ford. She actually wanted one. So you're not doing it. You're not doing it on behalf of Democrats.
But he says he wants to respect the victim.
That's what he said.
He said he believes something happened to her.
He believes something happened. Not only has he said that he believes something happened, he not only sees her as a victim, not just of this supposed encounter, but a victim of Democrats.
Right.
Because during that recess he said something to the effect of she was betrayed. So she is a victim.
Yes.
She was betrayed. Like, but I'm like, why are you speaking for her? If she felt betrayed in all this, she sure hasn't said so.
She has not.
She has not said she felt betrayed.
No.
And I mean, and for the most part, if she should feel betrayed, who should she feel betrayed by? Who should she feel betrayed by, Will?
The Republicans.
The Republicans. Because again, she wanted to do what? She wanted to go under the table.
Right.
She wanted to go under the table before Kavanaugh became a actual nominee.
Yeah.
She came when Kavanaugh was just on the short list.
Right.
And so she wanted to go under the table. So it's like, hey, this is what's going on.
But see, think about this, right? Let's say the Democrats did screw Dr. Ford. Let's say they did leak her name because obviously her name came out at somewhere. And at the hearing during Brett Kavanaugh's hearing, Senator Dianne Feinstein said, no, it didn't come from her. She didn't leak her name, and her staff didn't do it as well. They don't know like how her name got out. Now, Dr. Ford said she did talk to certain friends about it too. So is it possible they, talk to the media? I'm not sure. Like, nobody knows at this point, right? But just think about if the Democrats did betray her. Think about if the Democrats did stab her in the back. You're telling me as Senator Lindsey Graham, and the Republicans on this committee, you're going to punish a victim because of what other senators did. You want to listen to this victim. You want her to get her story out. You want to arrive at the truth. You want to do what's right for the victim. But you're going to punish her because of what Democrats did? How is that justice? If Brett Kavanaugh is actually guilty of this crime, of this sexual assault, then you owe it to her to arrive at that truth. If he isn't, then you owe it to her and Brett Kavanaugh to arrive at that truth as well. But you're not doing that because you don't want the Democrats to benefit. We're talking about a victim, but you're talking about politics. So who's politicizing the situation?
During Ford's testimony, what did she say her reason for coming forward was in the first place?
She thought it was her civic duty.
Because she did not want somebody like Kavanaugh becoming a Supreme Court justice.
Right.
So her motive for divulging this information was to prevent Kavanaugh from becoming a Supreme Court justice. So if that's the case, the Democrats, to me, are out of the picture here.
They should be. They should be. Again, I'll say again, I'll ask again, who is politicizing this situation? You can say the Democrats leaked their name. You can say the Democrats sat on it and they shouldn't have.
All that's irrelevant.
All that is irrelevant because here we are now. We have a credible claim and you have to do everything in your power to arrive at the truth. But you don't want to do that. You want to abdicate your responsibilities because you want to punish the Democrats. You want to punish the Democrats for betraying a victim. But in the same damn situation, you're not doing what's right for the victim either. Wow, man.
But you know it's crazy, though, because buried under the most controversial element to these confirmations is all the other issues why Kavanaugh wouldn't make a good Supreme Court justice.
That's true.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Now, I mean, I can understand.
Yeah.
I can understand why everything kind of has been overshadowed. But like, I think Republicans right now are making it as if these sexual allegations alone is what has created this very contentious confirmation process. And it's not actually. This is just kind of the most, like, I would say the most, I guess, juicy element of it. But at the end of the day, I honestly think the Republicans would much rather deal with this. Because first of all, they don't care about it. They would much rather deal with something that can't be proven beyond a reasonable doubt rather than deal with some of the other issues that the Democrats have brought up about Kavanaugh. Like you have his lack of understanding for, I guess, Native American sovereignty. You have his views on women's rights, his views on voting rights in general, his kind of being a bit elusive when asked about Trump and Mueller in that investigation. So there's a whole host of issues that Democrats put way before this Ford situation that has kind of been overshadowed. And I think as far as Republicans go, this is an easy out for them because they can just say, oh, these allegations are just a political ploy. The other questions actually seem to have some validity. And the other, I guess, problems with the process that Democrats have brought up seem to be very valid. It seems as if like this Ford thing is actually a get out of jail free card for the Republicans, even though it's pretty annoying for them, even though they look bad. I think this is a get out of jail free card because they can just present this as some sort of, you know, political ploy. Like they can talk about this confirmation hearing being drawn out, unnecessarily drawn out because of these Ford allegations and other allegations too. But I remember when they tried to withhold thousands of documents.
Do you remember that?
I remember that. Well,
it wasn't too long ago.
It was not too long ago.
Thousands of documents, right?
Thousands of documents.
Yeah, I remember that. Yeah, we talked about that.
Another reason why that's interesting is Lindsey Graham and Republicans talked about Feinstein and those surrounding her sitting on information. He said he did say that. He did say that in the clip you just played too, right?
He shouted in.
He
shouted.
He did.
Yeah.
Which is again so ironic considering that they sat on thousands of documents, which undoubtedly to me prolong this process. So they can't sit up here and talk about how these sexual assault allegations have held up the process when they were doing it from the jump. They were just being deceptive from the jump.
And like we said with the 65 names of women that came forward just within hours of this story breaking without Dr. Ford's name being released, I'm just not going to believe that that happened organically. I'm not going to believe that that happened within a few hours. No, they sat on that information as well. They had advanced knowledge of this claim.
Isn't that interesting? So they can't grandstand about somebody sitting on information when they knew about it too.
Yeah, I can't be convinced. That
do you see what I'm saying? That you can't sit there and call out the opposition party for holding on to information that you clearly already knew about. Right. But they clearly didn't care about that information.
Oh no. They just want to confirm their guy.
They just want to confirm their guy. And you brought up Anita Hill about 30 minutes ago. We've been
we're
we've been at like 2 hours.
Yeah.
You brought up Anita Hill, and I do think it's important because I didn't even know you were gonna bring up Anita Hill, but it's interesting that you did bring her up because you mentioned the fact that they reopened, or you wouldn't call it reopened.
Yeah, they did reopen.
They opened it. They reopened an investigation.
Right.
Right. Now, this is already an established person in Clarence Thomas.
Correct.
He's already been established, so as a figure in American politics, as an elected figure, or as I wouldn't say elected, but he was confirmed by his colleagues. Now, throughout his career, I think it's safe to say that he's gone through a series of FBI investigations, right?
Mm-hmm.
He's gone through.
I would say so.
He's gone through a series of FBI investigations. So with these, I guess the allegations that came from Anita Hill, that would prompt a new investigation, right?
It should.
And the other investigations don't matter, right? And it doesn't matter that the FBI investigated him for other things or certain things that they were already looking for previously in his career. That doesn't matter, right? Because this is a new revelation that came forth in regard to Anita Hill. So they opened or reopened an investigation on him. So I'm very puzzled as to why Kavanaugh in his opening statement made it a point to highlight the fact that the FBI has already investigated him multiple times in his 26-year career. Like, yes, of course. And
they have.
Yes, and they look for specific things. Right. They don't just go opening random doors. There's a process, a vetting process, and they, like, I guess they search for leads, or they see a lead. They don't search for leads. They see a lead, and they base their investigation off that. If they don't see a lead, they're not going to investigate. They don't just open up random doors. Right. So, like, the fact that the FBI investigated you
six times
in your 26-year career doesn't matter.
No.
It doesn't matter because guess what wasn't present during those investigations?
Dr. Ford's claim wasn't present at all. They had no idea that Dr. Ford was even out there. So why does it matter that he passed these 6 FBI investigations and nothing came back? Of course it wouldn't come back. Nothing would come back until somebody does make a claim. And she didn't tell anybody about it until 2012. It's just silly, man. So at this point, because these hearings just ended minutes before we were due to get on. That's why we were a little bit late. But anyway, I did hear that the Republican members of the Senate Judiciary Committee, they are planning on meeting tonight, and I don't know if that's happened already yet. I have no idea since we've been on, but I heard that they were planning on meeting tonight to discuss, I guess to discuss if they were going to go forward with the vote on Friday, because that's what was planned. They were going to hold these hearings on Thursday, and then on the next day they were going to have an up-down vote on Brett Kavanaugh to see if he can get confirmed to be the next Supreme Court justice. I guess they're going to try to take the temperature and see if they have the votes, because they can only if all the Democrats vote in unison against Brett Kavanaugh, then they can actually only lose one vote, I believe. If they lose 2 Republican senators, then it's game over.
Are there 2 Republican senators that are actually like waffling on this?
There could be.
Okay. All right.
So the the one that is, I guess, the catalyst on the Republican side is Senator Susan Collins. Because, okay, so again, we haven't gone into detail about the other allegations, but one of the allegations came in the way of a sworn declaration. And this individual, Julie Swetnick, she has... I mean, she seems she's been in government for a very long time. She holds certain security clearances, active security clearances, some inactive security clearances, and she did come forward with a sworn declaration. So if she is lying, that the penalty for that perjury would be up to 5 years in prison. So again, this seems like a pretty credible claim. We don't know that she's, this is the truth. We don't know to what degree it implicates, Brett Kavanaugh. Because again, this was just a few words. We don't have her, her audio testimony or anything like that. But again, this is another allegation. So it was Senator Susan Collins from Maine that I believe she stated some things to the media saying that she was kind of disgusted by these new allegations. And it just seems like, from what I've seen, it's like she is the gauge. She is the barometer.
Oh,
here.
so you think that it's not just about her?
No,
that she has.
If she votes no, I believe
she might carry. She
follow.
might carry some people with her.
Specifically, okay. Lisa Murkowski of Alaska as well. I believe Murkowski is seen as following, Senator Susan Collins' actions, and there might be others as well. We don't know, but it seems as though Susan Collins is the catalyst here. So. If she does vote yes, it looks like Judge Brett Kavanaugh will get confirmed. So I guess that's where they're, what they're going to be discussing tonight and arrive at that conclusion. So again, we don't know what's going to happen. I did mention Julie Swetnick. Okay, so yesterday there was another allegation. Julie Swetnick, in a sworn declaration, she said that she did know Brett Kavanaugh. And I believe, she said she knew Mark Judge from back in the day as well, during the same time, around the early 80s. I believe she said she met them around like 80, 81, and she went to multiple parties, probably like over 10 parties from the years 81 to 83. And in her sworn declaration, we have a part of this here. It says, during the years 81 to 82, I became aware of efforts by Mark Judge, Brett Kavanaugh, and others to spike the punch at house parties I attended with drugs and or green alcohol so as to cause girls to lose inhibitions and their ability to say no. This caused me to make an effort to purposely avoid the punch at these parties. I witnessed efforts by Mark Judge, Brett Kavanaugh, and others to target particular girls so they could be taken advantage of. It was usually a girl that was especially vulnerable because she was alone at the party or shy. She goes on to say, I also witnessed efforts. I also witnessed efforts by Mark Judge, Brett Kavanaugh, and others to cause girls to become inebriated and disoriented so they could then be gang raped in a side room or bedroom by a train of numerous boys. I have a firm recollection of seeing boys lined up outside rooms at many of these parties waiting for their turn with a girl inside the room. These boys included Mark Judge and Brett Kavanaugh. In approximately 1982, I became the victim of one of these gang or train rapes where Mark Judge and Brett Kavanaugh were present. Shortly after the incident, I shared what had transpired with at least 2 other people. During the incident, I was incapacitated without my consent and unable to fight off the boys raping me. I believe I was drugged using Quaaludes or something similar placed in what I was drinking. So again, her background, she's from that area. She graduated from Gaithersburg High School in Gaithersburg, Maryland, which is in that, in that vicinity area, the Washington, D.C. area. Her background, she has, like I said, she has active security clearances. She's worked in several government agencies, the State Department, Treasury Department. She's worked in U.S. Mint. She's worked in the Internal Revenue Service, Homeland Security, Department of Justice. Like I said, she's had a long career. And the fact that this is a sworn declaration from somebody of this stature automatically leans or leads like credibility to her claims. Now, again, we don't know exactly how her claims specifically involve Brett Kavanaugh and Mark Judge, because she said that he was present. They were present while she was raped. You can only kind of guess what that means. Does that mean that he was a participant, or was he just present at the party? We don't know that yet.
I think, to me, that kind of suggests that they were just there.
It could.
To me, that
but we don't know.
Yeah, to me, that just suggests that they were there. She was just kind of in that environment where stuff like that would go on, but she didn't seem to specifically say that Kavanaugh and Judge were like the ones that were like engaged with her, just that they were there.
Yeah. And she also said that she witnessed Brett Kavanaugh and Mark Judge as very close friends. She said, quote, joined at the hip. We didn't talk about this on the last show because there was some question on if she was actually going to come forward. Michael Avenatti, who is the lawyer for Stephanie Clifford, a.k.a. Stormy Daniels, the porn star, he is representing this woman. And on the last show, we had information that he was going to come forward. I believe it was on Monday night. He said within 48 hours, there was going to be another claim. It was going to be like on TV. It was going to be a televised claim. And I believe by Tuesday, there was some doubt that might actually, there was some doubt that he actually had a credible claim. There was some rumor going on 4chan, I believe, saying that it was a prank. Somebody had called Michael Avenatti and pretended to be somebody that a former classmate of Brett Kavanaugh, and they were making like this allegation against him. And then sometime after that, Michael Avenatti, he set his Twitter profile to private. And like I said, it was just a lot of speculation that he might have got. But on Wednesday, we found out, no, he was being real. He did actually have somebody that was claiming some sort of inappropriate behavior as it relates to Brett Kavanaugh. So there's also another claim that we talked about on the last show. We talked about Deborah Ramirez, who is a former Yale classmate with Brett Kavanaugh as well. So outside of those two claims, there were also two unnamed, I guess there were two unnamed allegations, or like anonymous allegations. One being, I believe, a rape in Rhode Island, like a boat in Rhode Island.
A boat.
And then there was another claim.
And Judge apparently was there too.
Judge and Kavanaugh supposedly took some girl out on a boat, and they raped her, and it was somebody else that called in about it, and they said like they confronted, I guess, both of them, Mark Judge and Brett Kavanaugh, and beat them up maybe or something like that. But I'm not sure how credible that is. Again, these are anonymous claims. There was another one about a woman that saw Brett Kavanaugh like forcibly push a girl up on the wall maybe or something like that. But again, these are anonymous claims, so we don't really have to deal with that. There are two other claims in Deborah Ramirez and Julie Swetnick that they have actually come forward and they have told their story. Now, all of these claims are uncorroborated, just like Dr. Christine Blasey Ford, but they seem somewhat credible, if not totally credible. So the problem that I see here, obviously, is that only Dr. Ford's story was told before the Senate Judiciary Committee on Thursday. Swetnick seems like she's being ignored. Deborah Ramirez seems like she's being ignored. And I believe it was more than just Senator Lindsey Graham. There were other Republican members of the Senate saying things like the other two stories, Swetnick and Ramirez, like those stories are falling apart. Let's just deal with Dr. Ford. Those other two stories are falling apart. The New York Times isn't even reporting about them. So you know that they're garbage, right? The stories are full of holes, right? Okay, so the New York Times didn't cover Deborah Ramirez. Okay, that's a New York Times story right there. In a culture of privilege and alcohol at Yale, her world converged with Kavanaugh's. And then with Swetnick, Julie Swetnick is the third woman to accuse Brett Kavanaugh of sexual misconduct. So I don't know why they are using this particular talking point, this narrative, as if these claims are so outlandish that the New York Times, the upstanding character of the New York Times, like this reputable organization, this media organization, they won't even report on these allegations.
You know why they're doing that, right? Because what is their talking point in regard to the Ford allegations and how they relate to Feinstein and the Democrats sitting on it? Right?
Yeah.
Like, so Graham's position is, hey, y'all sat on it, so therefore y'all don't get an FBI investigation. Y'all could have had one.
So they don't have the same type
They don't have the same type of narrative, or they don't have the same type of out.
Right.
They can't use that because, see, these claims are new and fresh.
Correct.
These claims are new and fresh, so they can apply that same logic. I'll use that term loosely. You know what I'm saying, to their response,
right,
in regard to the allegations and testimony of Ford. They can't use that now, so they have to use something else because these are new and fresh. So why not look into them with an FBI investigation? What you refuse to do in the Ford case, and which you blame Democrats for. In this case, you can't do that.
Exactly. And see, and this is why I said, and this is why many Democratic senators were saying the same thing. And they were actually trying to get Brett Kavanaugh to call for an investigation, an FBI investigation into all of these claims. It's not just about Dr. Ford, okay? It's about Julie Swetnick, and it's about Deborah Ramirez as well. Again, I have no clue if these allegations are true. I have no idea. It is very possible that Brett Kavanaugh is innocent of these charges. But if this is your guy and you want this to be your guy, you have to go through the process to clean up his image, because it has been absolutely tarnished right now. And if it has been tarnished improperly, if he has actually been so unlucky, if he has actually been the subject of just all of these false allegations, then I want him cleared as well. I want him cleared. I don't believe in the guy. I don't believe he's best for the Supreme Court. I would not want to see him on the Supreme Court. But if these allegations are false, this is a horrible way to keep him off the bench. I would not be a party to that at all. So to clean up his name, to clean up his image, and to prove these allegations false, go through the steps, go through the process, show that you actually care for victims of sexual abuse, sexual assault, sexual misconduct. Show the world that you're going to do the right thing and actually take the steps needed to clean his name up, or to find out that his name is dirty for a good reason.
But you already know they don't care about that, though. Their intent was to kind of push him through without any, like, I guess, pushback. Well, I wouldn't say without any pushback. Without any care for the pushback.
Right.
Like, I would think they expected pushback, but I just don't think they cared that pushback was happening or going to happen or was valid in any sense. Yeah. There wasn't going to be any pushback that was going to be valid in their eyes. They just wanted their guy through. They basically wanted a participation trophy.
That's correct.
They wanted a participation trophy because they want him to get through unconditionally, no matter what this guy is about.
Right.
So they think they're entitled to this seat. That's why they're so indignant, because they think he is entitled to the seat.
And of course, just like with Dr. Ford, there's an effort to say, hey, the Democrats sit on this information. Oh, this is the 11th hour and you're bringing these claims forward. Just because Julie Swetnick's, her claim actually hit the news cycle on Wednesday. That's not when her claim actually got to the Senate Judiciary Committee. That was actually on Sunday that they alerted the Senate Judiciary Committee about her and about her claim. But they really didn't do anything. They didn't get back to Michael Avenatti about anything. So that's when on Wednesday they said, okay, hey, we got to come forward. We got to come public with this. So they did. Mitch McConnell, John Cornyn, of course, Charles E. Grassley. They've all stated, hey, the process has already begun in trying to vet her claims and trying to speak with her and blah, blah, blah. But that all falls on deaf ears if you actually engage in a vote tomorrow and Friday.
That means that whatever claims you're making about some sort of inquiry are kind of empty.
Yeah. It doesn't matter because
if you're already planning on voting, then you like whatever you find is you already have told yourself and your colleagues that it's inconsequential.
How would it look for you to hold a vote on Friday, confirm him, get all the votes from the Republican Party members, vote on him, and then come back to Julie Swetnick and Deborah Ramirez and be like, okay, let's investigate your claim. Let's see if you're actually telling the truth. You know, he's already been approved for the Senate. I mean, for the
see, you're joking.
United States Supreme Court.
You're laughing, but I can see them doing that. You're laughing, but I can actually see them doing that.
Man, in this day and age, too. It wouldn't be I mean, I couldn't find a time where it would be a worse look. So we'll see what happens, man.
We'll see what happens, and we've seen what happens in regard to Trump and his administration and choosing the best people,
right? And
that kind of, I guess, backfiring on him.
Correct. And so particularly about Julie Swetnick. Instead of attacking the victim, they're trying to attack somebody else, and that would be Michael Avenatti. Of course they would attack Michael Avenatti because Michael Avenatti has a history with this administration. So Donald Trump on Twitter, shortly after this claim was made and it was made public, he said on Twitter, Avenatti is a third-rate lawyer who is good at making false accusations like he did on me and like he is doing now on Judge Brett Kavanaugh. He is just looking for attention and doesn't want people to look at his past record in relationships. A total lowlife.
Wait a second.
Get to work, man. Get to work. What you got, man?
False allegations.
False.
False
accusations.
Accusations. Yeah. See, he just can't help himself.
He can't.
Like, not all, and the fact that he can't help himself means that he can't help others. He should have just kept himself out of it.
He should have.
If he's going to chime in about Avenatti, just say, hey, don't trust this guy. I think these are false claims. That's it. But when you throw yourself in there, you're actually kind of discrediting your own comment because he said these accusations were false as it relates to himself. But the last time I checked, who does he represent?
Who you talking about? You talking about Avenatti? Yeah, Avenatti represents. I stated this earlier.
Who is that blonde young lady?
Yeah, it was Stormy Daniels.
Stormy Daniels.
Yes.
So, did those accusations turn out to be true or false?
I think they were all true.
Okay.
Because you remember he was stating that he had no idea of the payment and the payment never happened.
But then it turns out that all that stuff was true. So if you're going to put yourself out there and advocate for other people and protest about, I guess, their innocence, because that's what he's doing.
That's exactly what he did.
You better be sure if you throw yourself in there too, as an example of somebody who was, I guess, lied on by this gentleman.
Because he's trying to lay out a pattern.
He's laying a pattern.
Hey, look at Avenatti's past. He lied on me. He's probably lying about this too. But
he didn't lie on you, though. But again, like you mentioned, it's interesting that he's pinning this whole thing on Avenatti. But it's like it's not Avenatti who came forth with the claim. Avenatti didn't get these women to come forth. It has nothing to do with Avenatti. See, that's the way. Again, that's the way of trying to indirectly attack these victims without attacking them like wholeheartedly, directly, hard hitting on them.
Right. That's very aggressive.
Very aggressively. So what you do is you just attack. You just kind of attack the people around those figures and around those individuals that have come forth with the allegations,
which is still shameless.
It is. Because again, it's not even about Avenatti. Now, I'm not saying like Avenatti's a likable guy.
Nah,
definitely.
But what I am saying is that who cares?
Not saying about
who cares about Avenatti.
Saying that Avenatti is definitely not a likable guy.
But again, who cares about Avenatti? Avenatti is just representing the woman. We don't know. I mean, of course, Avenatti has been in the news for many, many months now. So has Katz, and that's one of the attorneys for Dr. Ford as well, because of the Me Too movement. So it's very possible that you're going to go to some high-profile lawyer.
Wait a second. So if he's going to call out Avenatti, why not call out the other lawyers?
Why not? Why didn't you call out Katz? But it was also Don Jr. that attacked Michael Avenatti as well. And Avenatti explained that on MSNBC with Lawrence O'Donnell. So this is a short clip about that attack from Don Jr. And this is Michael Avenatti's retort as well.
I noticed earlier tonight, in fact, Don Jr. got in the mix by calling me a porn star lawyer. Evidently, he forgot that his father was the one that had unprotected sex with my, quote, porn star, close quote, client, while his stepbrother was 4 months old at home with his stepmom.
See, that's why you see. That's why you don't put yourself out there. But see, Trump can't help himself.
This is Don Jr. This is Don Jr.
Well, I'm just saying.
Yeah.
Like that's why you don't put yourself out there because everybody in your family gonna get hit.
Exactly, man. Like, damn. Like if you're gonna come to the table, you're gonna come. This was pretty much coming to a damn gunfight with a damn knife, man.
Knife. You're being too generous. You're being too generous.
I'm doing a little bit too
this
much
is like
now.
a ice cream scoop. It's coming to a gunfight with an ice cream scoop.
I saw that. I was like, whoa, damn. Unprotected sex with my client while your little stepbrother is at home with his. Damn. Just don't say nothing else, Don Jr. Just don't say anything else, man.
But I mean, if you think about not just Don Jr. but Trump, like, do you think he would actually stay neutral in this in regard to sexual assault allegations, knowing who he is and know how he operates and the things that he said about women and the allegations that are hovering over him right now? Do we really think he would come out and be like, hey, guys, we need to listen to these victims? You know, hey, he's my pick. He's my guy, but hey, we need to listen to these victims.
Somebody like Trump. Somebody like Trump.
No.
Not happening. He also President Trump, he held a press conference on Wednesday too, and he was obviously asked multiple times about Kavanaugh, and he said, not his words, not mine, his words. He said that he hasn't made up his mind about Kavanaugh. See, he's going to let the testimony of Dr. Ford do a lot of the talking for him. So he said it's very possible that he could be convinced. He could be convinced that Dr. Ford is telling the truth, and he could pull the nomination of Brett Kavanaugh. That's what he said at this press conference. He also fielded a question about why he always seems to believe the accused and not the accusers. And Trump said that this was because he has been falsely accused of sexually inappropriate behavior multiple times. I think he said there was some incidents where like 4 women had accused him and they were proven to be false, and the New York Times didn't report about it and blah, blah, blah. And it's so interesting that he only pointed to those 4 times because he has been actually accused of some type of sexual misconduct over a dozen times. But he doesn't point to those instances. But like I said, this is par for the course. We know what Trump is. We knew what Trump was before the election. So this is the type of individual that there's little, if no chance at all, is going to actually try to speak for victims or actually try to ensure justice for victims.
'Cause he's a bully.
Yeah.
He's a bully.
And he's a misogynist. Straight up. Yeah. Oh, you know what? Yeah, I did want to say this too. He also said the way things are going, George Washington probably couldn't get confirmed to the Supreme Court, which is very interesting.
You know what?
You would, you would bring up George Washington.
You were what? But see, again,
you think you did something there by bringing up George Washington.
See, because he's bringing up the first president.
Yeah.
So
honorable man, right?
He's so honorable. But like by bringing up George Washington, well, he's bringing up George Washington for a reason. He's bringing up George Washington because he knows George Washington had some white supremacist tendencies. He owned slaves.
But he also
not only did he own slaves, his wife afterwards refused to get rid of the slaves, even though even though George Washington advised the slaves to be freed after he died, his own wife tried to keep them. But that's another story. But yeah, why bring up George Washington?
Yeah. But I believe everything that you're saying, but he also tried to get patriots right in the heart. Because, patriots believe that George Washington was a patriot.
I don't care.
The first president.
He was a patriot, the first president, and a slave owner.
Exactly.
And he was essentially, in order to be a slave owner, you got to be a white supremacist.
Yeah.
Sorry.
And that statement is correct. Actually, I kind of reached. Well, actually, I take out a word. He said he probably wouldn't get confirmed to the Supreme Court. No, he would not get confirmed to the Supreme Court because he's a damn slave owner. That's morally reprehensible.
Exactly. Doesn't make any sense. So my thing is, if you are, I guess, going back in time and bringing someone forward to this time, I guess, in some sort of theoretical Supreme Court nomination type scenario, then you're bringing all of their baggage with them. You can't go back and pick them up and act as if what they are and what they have been will not be taken into account now.
He's thinking
because that's what he did. Essentially, he said he wouldn't be nominated to the Supreme Court, and I was like, yes, as he shouldn't.
Yeah, he's thinking that hey, he was viewed as a good man then, so hey, he should be viewed as a good man now. No, no, not at all. So anyway, like I said, that's pretty much what we have for, I believe, this this issue right here. Again, the Republican members of the Senate Judiciary Committee, they're going to be discussing things tonight to see if they are going to actually hold that vote tomorrow. We don't know if they have the votes. We don't know what way Senator Susan Collins is leaning right now. So it's just waiting right now. There was one other thing about Mark Judge's college girlfriend. She's actually she actually stated that she's willing to talk to federal investigators as well as to, I guess, Mark Judge's conduct when she knew him and some things that he had told her as well. She said that, I believe this is the New Yorker had posted this. This was in an article. Her name is Elizabeth Razor. And Razor recalled that Judge had told her ashamedly of an incident that involved him and other boys taking turns having sex with a drunk woman. Razor said that Judge seemed to regard it as fully consensual. She said that Judge did not name others involved in the incident, and she has no knowledge that Kavanaugh participated in it. So we don't know if that will back up Swetnick's claims or not. We have no idea. But she did say, Elizabeth Razor, the former girlfriend, she did say that she was willing to speak to investigators about it. And she also said that if the FBI investigation was not going to be reopened, that she was willing to speak to the Senate Judiciary Committee about it, as well. No word from the Republican members of the committee, though. So, again, that's just what we have. So, yeah. That's what we have. Hopefully this is not over tomorrow, because this deserves more investigation. So hopefully this is not over tomorrow, because Kavanaugh's reputation has not been cleaned up at all.
And they're not doing a good job at cleaning it up either.
I don't even think they're trying.
Well, no, they're trying, but it doesn't seem like they're trying because they're offering some very kind of fallacious arguments in response to the allegation. So I think that they have to try to make it look like they care about this confirmation hearing and it being fair. Something else that Lindsey Graham mentioned about it being fair.
Right.
So yeah, if he was really interested in a fair hearing, he would kind of go about it in a more legitimate way. So I think they just are appearing or giving us the impression that they're trying, because that's what they have to look like they're doing. And because they really don't care to try, that's why all the arguments they're presenting look ridiculous.
Just an update on another story too. Lindo Jones. We talked about Lindo Jones a few shows ago. It may have been last week, maybe the week prior to that. I'm not sure.
Yeah, I think it was last week.
Okay. Lindo Jones is the man that was shot by Officer Derek Wiley. Now, he survived the incident. We showed video footage of that. This was in Texas, and I believe, this was Dallas County. And Lindo Jones, again, he was shot. There was a 911 call about somebody acting somewhat suspicious by a truck. I guess they thought that the truck was being stolen. Officer Derek Wiley showed up and he shot him after it wasn't a physical altercation. He was being aggressive in his words. He's talking about he's gonna shoot him. Lindo Jones was following his commands, doing exactly what he needed to do. He got on the ground, but Officer Derek Wiley was like hitting pressure points. He was still telling him he was gonna shoot him. So that's when Lindo Jones rolled over and he was running away from him because he was scared that he was actually gonna get shot. That's why he ran away from him, because he was scared, because this dude was being he was detained. He was detained, but he's still being told that he was gonna get shot. So he bucked. He tried to get out of there, and while he was running away, Officer Derek Wiley shot at him multiple times. So again, he survived. Derek Wiley was fired from being an officer. I think it was a Mesquite officer, and so his trial had been ongoing since last week, I believe. And today, it ended in a mistrial.
Oh, I'm so surprised.
The jury could not come to an agreement with a decision. So,
but see, what did his department have to say about the shooting, though?
They fired him.
That's my point.
They fired him.
So they felt that his actions, I guess, were not appropriate.
Yeah.
And so to me that says something.
Yeah.
Exactly. To me that says something.
I know. During the testimony that Derek Wiley gave during the trial, I wonder if y'all can hear that.
Oh no,
thunder.
I guarantee they probably heard that thunder.
That's not not like a
if the show cuts off, y'all know why it is. We're experiencing a thunderstorm right now, and power seems to just always go off around here.
But Derek Wiley, he said at the trial, he said, quote, "It was a split second, and I told myself, Derek, do not die out here. It was an instant moment of fear. I thought I might die out there." And then he began to weep. He also said, quote, "I was basing everything off of what I was seeing and what I felt, and at that time I felt that he possibly had a gun on him and he was going to attempt to use it on me. I wouldn't have shot that dude if I didn't think he was going to try and hurt me."
But did he give an indication that he was going to try to hurt him?
No.
That's the thing. And based on the body cam footage, it doesn't look like Jones was like in a position to hurt him. He was running away. So I don't know where that idea came from. It just came from his imagination. Exactly. It didn't come from the actual situation he found himself in.
Exactly. Let's talk about Gillum, because this is in Andrew Gillum is the Democratic nominee for governor in Florida, and he is going to be facing off in November against the Republican nominee Ron DeSantis. Now we have talked about we have talked about Andrew Gillum many times. We've talked about Ron DeSantis a few times because of the racial controversies that have been impacting his campaign. But Andrew Gillum, he campaigned on a progressive platform. He has gathered a lot of progressive support, a lot of centrist support as well. So recently, it has been reported that Democratic mega donor Tom Steyer is going all in on Andrew Gillum's campaign for governor in Florida. The New York Times indicated that Steyer is planning on spending more than $5 million promoting Gillum's campaign against Republican Ron DeSantis.
Why is that controversial, though? Is it just because he's a big Democratic donor and typically I guess donates money to the big guys, the big names?
Yeah. Well, look, this is a guy, Tom Steyer, that he supports establishment candidates a lot.
Yeah.
And when you're talking about Andrew Gillum and his progressive platform, you're talking about somebody that I don't want to say 100% I know this, but I believe he has talked about money in politics. No. I know it. He has talked about money in politics.
He's talked about it.
I think he has talked about running a clean campaign, because he has talked before the primary even took place. He noted many times that he was the only non-millionaire in the race. There was like a billionaire, a couple millionaires. So he understands what money in politics does. So that's why this is, not sort of relevant. That's why this is relevant. I haven't seen Gillum make any statement about Tom Steyer and this contribution that he's planning on making. The Times also noted that Steyer is scheduled to appear with Gillum campaigning in an event this weekend. So again, I haven't seen anything about Gillum saying, hey, I still want to run this campaign the right way, and I understand that there are people that want to support me, people that have a lot of money, people that have donated to the Democratic Party many, many times, but that's not how I want to, run my campaign. So thanks, but no thanks.
So you're saying that there's no preconditions that you know about so far.
No.
Okay, well, yeah, okay, I'm going to take this money, but my platform is not changing. Now, people have pointed out that Gillum has kind of moved away from his Medicare for All stance and just kind of moved towards the Protect Obamacare position. So people see that as a bad sign. And with this, new information coming forth about this mega donor, I think it kind of rubs people the wrong way. And quite honestly, seems like this is getting attention, but I just don't see as much vitriol shown towards him that people have shown towards Ocasio-Cortez for her Cuomo remarks. This seems to have a lot more gravity to it.
It does. I feel uncomfortable about this.
Yeah,
I didn't feel comfortable about what Ocasio-Cortez said.
This is a bit different because not only did he kind of soften his stance on Medicare for All, he's taken money from a corporate Democratic mega donor.
It's a bad look.
Yeah, and there's some other stuff too that might rub people the wrong way as well.
Yeah, there's some other stuff.
I think you saved the juicy juice.
Yeah, the juicy juice. So, like I said, I noted that this weekend, Tom Steyer is scheduled to campaign with Andrew Gillum. There's also another individual that is planning on campaigning with Andrew Gillum as well, and that would be Hillary Rodham Clinton.
Yes. Now, the details surrounding how Hillary Clinton is going to be involved haven't been ironed out yet, but it looks like it's gonna go down.
Right. I believe the two teams are still working out the details. So there's nothing solid yet, but like you said, it seems like this is going to go down at some point, which again rubs people the wrong way, rubs me the wrong way as well. But you do have to consider the fact that in 2016, who did he support?
Again, he supported Hillary Clinton
over Bernie Sanders.
Yeah, over Bernie Sanders. So to me, again, this is not really surprising for me. And
because we have to note too that in Florida, Hillary Clinton still does pull some weight in Florida.
Well, actually, it's obviously Florida, but we still have to acknowledge that she got the popular vote.
That's correct.
No matter what progressive runs in any race, they cannot win with just people who are progressives.
Right.
They cannot win. Yeah. They can't. Sorry. Yeah. That's the reality. So in order for these progressive candidates to win, they have to get some votes from people who voted for people like Hillary Clinton and Andrew Cuomo.
But I guess the question is this a bridge too far? Is this going too far? Because right now, okay, we're less than 2 months out. We're less than 2 months away from the general election, and the polls indicate that Gillum is actually leading Ron DeSantis, and actually has been consistently leading Ron DeSantis. Now, we can't assume that it's going to shake out the same way when it comes to the general election. We know that these polls don't always accurately reflect what's going to happen on voting day.
And they usually get these results from a small sample size.
That's true.
You know what I'm saying?
But again, he is holding this lead. I think it's about 4 or 5 points, something like that. Does he need to go this route and campaign with Hillary Clinton?
To push him over the top, maybe, but
it's still a bad look, though.
It is
still a bad look.
And I would say not only is it a bad look, like Hillary Clinton, I don't want to. Well, I think I can say that she's as toxic as Donald Trump, right?
Yeah.
And so Donald Trump,
maybe that at this point, maybe not as
yeah, exactly. Yeah. I think that was like kind of like the second part of my point. Right. Like in 2016,
definitely
they were both seen as like neck and neck,
That's
equally
correct.
toxic.
Right.
We were debating the last show about which one of them was Freddy Krueger and which one of them was Jason.
That's right.
So they gave most people the same reaction. So Hillary Clinton could maybe have a negative effect on his campaign, but maybe he's not seeing it that way, seeing as how Trump has already been able to, like, I guess, display who he is in this year and a half to 2 years after he got elected. So I still think people still feel the same way about Clinton. You know what I'm saying? I think the voters do, but see, he's not a voter. He's a politician. So he may be looking at it that way. Like, wait a second. The person that Donald Trump ran against, she's been kind of making appearances here and there, but she's been out of the picture. Right. I can still use her political capital. Or maybe it's the other way around, because we don't know who contacted who.
That's
maybe
correct.
This is Hillary Clinton using Gillum to become relevant.
We don't know. We don't know which way it happened. Look, again, it stinks. It doesn't look good. It has a very bad look. I'm not excited about this whatsoever. I'm not excited about the $5 million, the over $5 million that's going to be donated to his campaign. I'm not good with any of this. Now, of course, I will still say that there's no doubt in my mind that Andrew Gillum becoming the governor of Florida is far better than Ron DeSantis being the governor.
So
Florida.
What's the bottom line? He is better than DeSantis.
Yes, he's better than DeSantis. So I'm not. You're not going to hear me say I'm retracting my support for Gillum. This is a terrible look, no doubt. He should come forward and say, I'm not accepting this money, even if the money is still spent, because he can't control who spends money in a super PAC. He can't control that. He can distance himself. He can say, I'm not going to accept it. I'm not going to have anything to do with this. And that would be the right look. As far as the whole Hillary Clinton thing, again, he supported her in 2016.
But that's 2016, though.
Yeah, I know. It's just, we still know that she's relevant. Like you just correctly stated, she got the popular vote. She still does hold some political capital. People still do appreciate Hillary Clinton and love them some Hillary Clinton. So who knows if this will have a negative outcome. It seems to be that the only people that might feel so disgusted about this are the progressives. And we know that that isn't the majority of voters in Florida.
Tara Brate is comparing Gillum to Obama, saying that Gillum is willing to and ready to sell out for the right amount of money. He learned how to spew progressive bullshit from Obama. I think I think the difference in Gillum and Obama is that we assumed Obama was progressive.
Right.
He talked about some stuff, but his platform really wasn't all that progressive if you looked at it. I think we assumed he was progressive based on how he talked in his rhetoric and kind of the tone of his campaign and the campaign slogan in general, and that's what a lot of people saw. Gillum is not like that at all. Right. Like, everything is completely lined out in basically a progressive, from a progressive standpoint, like his entire platform. You can't deny it. Obama's wasn't like that. I mean, I could see where you're going, but I wouldn't take it that far. I see what you're saying.
I'll say this.
I wouldn't take it that far.
At this point, no, I wouldn't take it that far. But can I see him becoming Obama? Yeah, that's possible. That's possible. I think that's possible. Like I said, this news right here, Yeah, it's not encouraging whatsoever. I still would, I wouldn't go as far as saying at this point, he's another Obama running for office. I wouldn't go that far. But down the line, could he be something just like the same that Obama was? That's possible. I don't know.
I wouldn't say, I don't know. Ted Bray says that Obama led people to believe that he would end the wars, though. I don't think that was really a part of his campaign totally to end the wars. If you go back and watch a lot of his speeches, he made a lot of direct declarations to that same American exceptionalism that Republicans did. Yeah. So he always saw the American military as a force of good. Yes, he talked about pulling out of certain.
That's more what he talked about.
Yeah, he talked about pulling out of Iraq, pulling out of Afghanistan. Yeah.
He wanted to
but those were like
set timetables.
That was like he wanted to focus on something particular because that was like a wedge issue, and that was an easy issue to focus on. But I guess broadly, I don't recall that being like a major part. I guess you're right. Partially, because he did make Afghanistan, Iraq a part of that kind of pull-out strategy. But for the most part, he is that same, America first, America's always spreading democracy and freedom across the world type politician.
All right.
Through our military.
It's 9:45, man. I want to do the robot story, man.
You know why I'm giving him that look.
Got to do the robot story, man. Let's leave off with a laugh, man. Let's leave off with a laugh.
Yeah, we got to tonight, man.
Yeah. All right. So the sex industry is always booming. There's never really a shortage of interest in sex. So naturally, there's never really a shortage in interest for sex products. So a business in Houston, Texas, is set to try to capitalize on that interest of sex and sex products. And they're set to become the first of its kind in the United States. A sex robot brothel. A sex robot brothel. So currently, this company, they have a business located in Toronto, in Canada. And online, they have stated that they are bringing their products, their business to a community in Houston, Texas.
Their business models to Texas.
Right. So right now, there's no word on where in Houston or when this is actually going to become a thing. But again, they have said on the internet that they are bringing it to Houston. So there are people pushing back on this idea, and city officials are pushing back on the idea. Houston Mayor Sylvester Turner said, quote, "It's not the sort of business that we advertise for or we seek to attract, or quite frankly, from my point of view, the sort of business that I want in the city of Houston." So look, this is very interesting. This is very interesting because, one, this is like a new business model. I didn't even know that there was this type of business that was in Toronto, but surely it wasn't in the United States. So, look, we understand that, again, I said, there's no shortage of interest in sex and sex products. I would not say anything to anybody, and it's, of course, usually men, that pay for sex, right? I'm not going to say anything about a man that wants to pay for sex. Maybe they're bad socializing with women. Maybe they don't want to deal with actual relationships. They're bad in relationships, what have you. Like, there's a reason why it's been framed as the oldest profession out there, right?
It's the oldest profession. Because it's tied to an act that's natural.
Yes. So I'm not going to disparage somebody that wants to pay for it. Hey, have at it. Now, with the whole like sex dolls, with that whole issue, like I still wouldn't even say anything to somebody that wanted a sex doll. Like that's not something I would do, but I'm still, it's like, again, maybe you're a loner, you're an introvert, you don't go out and you're not comfortable with women. There are a lot of males like that. But women buy these dolls as well, too. So, if you want to partake in doing that in the comfort of your own home, cool. I'm not going to say nothing to you. But here we come And we're talking about sex doll brothels, sex robot brothels, because they are robotic. Now, like they can talk to you. There's many different features. Like, these dolls are very, very, very expensive.
Oh, you know a lot about them, Will.
I had to research.
I bet you did research.
But I'm saying these are. I mean, they're very lifelike. They're heavy.
Let me check your internet history, dog.
They're very.
You've been testing?
Not from experience, but I've heard they're very soft, right?
You've been testing.
So look, like I said, this is a real industry, and like the sex doll, and that those products, they have taken off in the last few years. I guess where I come in on this is like, okay, it's very weird that there would be a sex doll, sex robot brothel. But of course there are brothels around. We know about the Bunny Ranch. But this is what I'm thinking about it. If you're gonna pay for sex, wouldn't you rather pay for sex with a human?
But you still may not even be comfortable with human interaction then.
Gosh.
And it may be just a little bit easier for you. And you may be like, you're not just afraid of human interaction. You're probably afraid of not being able to please someone, even if you have to pay for it.
But see, this is the thing, though. What do we know about prostitutes? I mean, their business is to please the individual, person. Right?
So
even if they're not pleased, they're going to act like they are, because that's their job, right?
But here's my take on it. We already have sex bots. We already have sex bots, because all sex bots are a device that assist in some sort of sexual gratification that have the figure of a human.
Right.
So what really distinguishes them is just the fact that they are shaped like a human. That is the only thing. We already have currently sex toys, all manner of sex toys and sex machines that are out there. So simply because they don't have the shape of a human doesn't mean they're not sex bots. We already have sex bots. Let's just say something small, right. Something smaller than like a huge sex bot. I don't know, like a vibrator or a jackrabbit that comes in many different sizes. If I start to produce a vibrator or a jackrabbit, whatever you call it, any kind of sexual device, or like what's men use to fleshlights, whatever. Right. If I don't know, cover it in a casing that looks like a human body, does it become a sex bot? So we're defining whether it's a sex bot because it has the human shape, when everything that is designed for sexual gratifications that's mechanical or mechanical in some kind of way is actually a bot. So I think even the whole idea about sex bots only being referring to things that resemble human beings maybe is a bit limiting, because we already have bots on the market. They're just either smaller or don't have the shape of a human being. So we already have sex bots. Technically, we do.
Y'all buying this?
No, I'm being for real.
Look.
Just because it has the shape of a human, now all of a sudden it's for sexual gratification.
I hear
right?
where you're coming from, all right? You make somewhat of a compelling argument. The only thing is, these sex dolls, these robots, they're made to look like humans for a reason. They're made to simulate a human. Like when you're talking about dildos, or you're talking about like fleshlights and stuff like that, all these other products.
Dildo is to simulate a human,
but
a
not
male
the
penis.
whole human.
It doesn't matter. Not
see, the whole
you
human.
brought it up. See, I wasn't even thinking about dildos. You brought.
No, hold on. See,
this is gonna get this video flagged.
I'm saying
this is gonna get this video flagged. So I wasn't even thinking about. Oh, so see, you brought up dildos.
Yeah.
So a dildo is what? A replica of a real human body part.
But
why can't everything be there?
No.
So why can't everything be there?
When you're talking about a sex doll or a sex robot,
why can't everything be there?
That's what I'm saying. If you're talking about sex doll, sex robot, you're taking everything that a human has. You're talking about, if you're talking about a man wanting a woman, right? You're talking about breasts, arms, a beautiful face, hair, a slim waist, a booty, legs. Like, if you're into feet, you got cute feet. You're not having sex with all. Well, maybe some people are having sex with all that stuff.
So you said the feet. I think the feet. Maybe. Wait a second.
Yeah,
you got people who got some.
Yeah. But still, it's like if you're gonna pay this much money for a sex doll, like if you're gonna engage in that type of behavior, it's because you want the whole experience of a human without a human needing to be there. The whole experience. So it's a little bit more than just Brian, I guess, engaging in these particular.
I'm not saying products. It's not more. Yeah. It definitely is more, but you know how we are as humans. We always have to step it up. We always have to kick it up a notch. You know what I'm saying?
For me though, this is just like I said. I'm not gonna denigrate somebody that wants to, have some relationships with a sex doll, sex robot, whatever. But it's just very weird when I hear that there's actually a brothel when there are many prostitutes out there willing to do exactly what you need to do.
So even sex work and prostitution
is being automated.
They taking your jobs.
Oh my gosh, man. Yo, this might become even bigger of a story.
It might.
You trying to automate this? I mean,
You know what? I did see. It was it was a video a long time ago where there was a stripper robot.
Yeah.
It was a stripper robot they had on the pole doing stripper stuff. It looked whack as hell though because it didn't have no covering. It was just kind of like a prototype. Right. So it looked like Short Circuit Johnny 5.
Oh my gosh.
Stripping on the stage.
That's not a good. That's not cute, man. That's not cute, dog. But like I said, there's an effort to, I guess, pump the brakes on this. And like I said, Mayor Turner, he doesn't want this sort of business inside the city of Houston. He also is already said to be checking to see if there are any existing ordinances that can prohibit this type of business or at least regulate its operations. Also, there's a petition on change.org that's the title is Keep Robot Brothels Out of Houston. And this petition has gathered, I think at this point, is more than 9,000 signatures on it. I think they're shooting for 10,000 signatures. So the nonprofit that's behind the petition, they focus on ending sex trafficking in Houston. And they say that the brothel, quote, will only encourage more men to become sex buyers.
Wait a second.
Which doesn't make
so
a lot
they're
of
focused
sense.
On sex trafficking. That's usually talking about
actual human
beings.
That's correct.
Making sure human beings are not exploited.
That's correct.
But we're talking about robots. Oh, see, now we're gonna have to talk about robot rights now. See?
So when you automate industry, now you got to talk about the rights of these robots that they aren't real. I mean, they aren't real. They have no beating hearts or anything.
But see, again, that's why I think this conversation.
Wouldn't that be theft?
I know, right? That's why I think this conversation about sex bots is a little limiting. And so you have already heard my, I guess, my reasoning as to why the whole conversation about sex bots is kind of, to me, a little disingenuous because everything is automated already that people use for sex. So what's the difference in sex bots? But to me, what's the difference in some other mechanism or mechanical tool that we use to make our lives easier? What about a stove? What about a microwave? What about all these things that don't have faces on them, but they're robots that handle our needs every day? Well, you see what I'm saying? So even the conversation about robot rights to me is dumb because we use robots already. Right. But we're only thinking in terms of robots that have a human look. Do you see what I'm saying?
Because, we're talking about the sex industry, which the sex industry is always framed as a dirty industry and something that is morally reprehensible and needs to be pushed away, it needs to be tucked under a cover. You can't actually talk about that. The porn industry, all of this is bad and it's a stain on our society, which it's not because, of course, everybody engages in sex and lots of people enjoy sex products as well. Like I said, I'm not gonna denigrate anybody that, likes to engage in using sex robots, sex dolls, or whatever. It will be an interesting scene to see a sex robot brothel. That will be a very interesting scene. And actually, they have no laws. I'm not aware of any laws that are actually on the books that can actually regulate or limit this type of business, because they're not hurting anybody.
Yeah, and
as long as they keep it private, like the actual sexual activity, as long as that's actually done in private, there's nothing.
And I'm pretty sure, because this is in Texas, right? It's in Texas, so I'm pretty sure you can already order like sex bots online anyway in Texas. So that would be weird if they could have the ability to outlaw a brothel or a place of business that utilize sex bots, but then sex bots being purchased is still legal.
See, there's laws against human prostitution. There's no laws against sex robot prostitution. Well, so I guess they'll have to update the laws.
They have to update the law, but this seems like anti-capitalistic. Like this seems
a new way to make money, right?
It's a new way to make money. It just seems like this is a kind of a free market venture.
You know what I just thought of? There's no way this will actually happen. But for the people, these religious folk, right? They think the porn industry, pornography it's a stain on our society, right? Because that deals with human beings.
So human beings sinning.
Yeah.
So what you're saying is literally. You see how he's all punny and shit?
Why not get behind the whole idea of sex robot brothels?
Why not get behind the whole idea? I'm with you, dog. They just the puns just keep coming. But no, dog, seriously, you do raise a good point in that, like, the whole kind of aspect of sinning has to do with like human on human behavior.
Correct.
So I guess we're entering this modern age where technology is like, we're engaging in technology in ways that we didn't before. Like, how does that reshape the idea of sin? You see what I'm saying? And the act of sin in regards to sex. And this is from a Christian perspective.
Right.
Or from a Christian perspective. So it's like, so am I sinning if I'm fornicating with a robot? But robots can't fornicate, can they? Do I got to get married to the robot?
Because actually, when you think about it, these robots, they're really just receptacles. I mean, they're inanimate objects.
They're, as I was trying to say, they're inanimate objects that just have the shape of a human. So it makes them no different than any other object to me. Don't we have a friend that lives in Houston?
We do.
I actually have a few friends.
Yeah, we do. We do. We need to highlight him about if he's heard any news on this. Oh man, like I said, man, this was a funny story, man. I just, like I said, I can't get behind the idea of paying for sex, but you're not gonna pay for sex with a human
being. I know that does seem weird.
Wow.
But again, like I said, don't people pay for sex toys and pay for other sexual?
But if you go that far to go outside of your house to some other establishment.
But see, I think it's more than just that too. It's the draw of it. It's different. It's not a human being.
It's safe sex.
It's literally. It's very safe.
I guess it is.
Maybe that's the angle too.
I guess it is. Yeah.
Maybe that's the angle too.
It could be.
But yeah, there was like, I forgot, there was a movie. It's called like, damn, what was the name of that movie? Mia. I don't think that was the name of the movie. It was the android or the bot's name was Mia, but I can't remember the name of that movie. It kind of centered around this. But there's a bunch of damn movies that center around this though. There's so many of them you just can't remember. There's a bunch of TV shows centered around it too.
All right. So that's what, man, look at that. We went just about 3 hours. I knew that hearing. I knew talking about that hearing we were going to go well over 2 hours on that, because there was just so much to discuss with that, plus the other allegations against Brett Kavanaugh. I'm very interested to see what's going to happen going forward. I'm very interested to see if they actually are going to hold this vote tomorrow. That will really be a shit show. That will really be a shit show if they actually do that. They go that far to just completely ignore the other allegations, to completely ignore actually investigating Dr. Vore's claim.
I don't put it past them.
I don't put it past them either. I'm just saying
it would be blatant.
My gosh.
It would be blatant this time.
Yeah. My gosh. Lindsey Graham is talking about this is the most. What he say? Like this is the most. Most shameful period of time on the Senate for the Senate or something like that. No, what would be the most shameful is if you hold that vote tomorrow. That will mark the most shameful time in the United States Senate.
That's what I'm saying. What he was trying to do, he was trying to like take the shame that's obviously in their corner and try to like push it off on the opposition party.
Right. All right. So we have a little bit of time, so we're going to open this up for calls. Definitely want to hear what you have to say. I assume a lot of people have some opinions about what's going on in the Senate, what happened today during the testimony of Brett Kavanaugh and Dr. Christine Blasey Ford. So we would definitely like to hear your thoughts on that. And maybe you have some thoughts about the sex robots
about
too.
The sex robots.
Yeah, maybe you do. So the number to call in, let me get it here because I have no idea and I can't remember the phone number at all. The number is 669-900-6833. Again, we would love to hear from you. So let me excuse me. Let me set this up. I must have put something wrong. Oh yeah, I know exactly what I did now. It's because the song is backwards. All right, and just to remind you too, this is going to be the last LTMB live show for a couple weeks. We had announced that news on the last show. We have some updates to do, some upgrades to do, and it's just impossible to do it while we're doing the show throughout the week. So we definitely want to. Well, we've been procrastinating. See, it wasn't on your calendar.
That's
it wasn't on your calendar.
That's why. See, it wasn't on my calendar, so that's why it hasn't been done. Because only things that are on calendars get done.
Exactly. Okay. Yeah, I understand. All right. Yeah. So, like I said, we have a lot of things to do, so we definitely want to get them done. And but during the time, we are still going to be, updating maybe some short videos. Definitely like tomorrow. If there's actually something that happens tomorrow, we're not going to have a show, but best believe we're going to have something to say about it. So that might be our opportunity to, make a little short video and express our feelings on it. So we do have a few callers waiting. So let me set this up so we can take these calls. L Train says season finale of LTMB.
Season finale. Somebody mentioned that show I was talking about, Humans. There was a few shows.
Mike Strahan?
There was a.
He said Mike Strahan.
Oh Lord. That was one of the shows I was talking about, Humans, but there's like a bunch of movies. I forget.
Yeah, Humans. Yeah. All right, put yours on. All right.
Yep.
All right. Boy, I've been talking too much. All right, so let's set this up. Excuse me. All right, so I think we are ready to take our first caller. And this number looks a little bit familiar.
Yeah, I think this might be Court.
Yeah.
This might be Court. I'm just making a prediction here.
So this is the 443 area code. Caller, you're on the air live with LTMB.
Hey, what's going on, fellas? Long time.
What's going on, Court, man? How you doing out there, man?
Yeah, man.
Doing all right. How y'all doing?
Good, man. Glad to hear from you.
Yeah, I've been busy. I had some I had some side work that I needed to make some money on. I had to take the wife out of town for the anniversary and working hard at the job and all kinds of stuff.
Basically, real life stuff.
I finally got a minute. Yeah, I finally got a minute to watch the show.
Well, we're glad that you took that minute to join our show and call in, man.
What you got for us?
So, man, there's a whole bunch of shit that went down, didn't it? I mean, look at the Rosenstein stuff that went on last week, and they tried to say he was going to resign, and you knew it was a disinformation campaign.
Right.
And then you had the shooting, you had the mass shooting, 2 or 3 of them in a row. Nobody talks about it. I noticed just how callous people have become to those things. You don't hear nothing about them. Don't hear nothing about them. I'll bring them up. And, like, people will be like, what are you talking about? I don't know what you're talking about. Now, a year ago, everybody knew what all these things were. We always talked about them. We always knew it. Now it's just complete desensitization. We don't even notice it anymore. And this Kavanaugh shit show is ridiculous. So let's say I'm a woman, and let's say that I want to cause a man a hard time. And let's say I'm smart and I know what I'm doing and I have powerful friends, all this stuff. Do I really want to get up on national television and give names and give dates and give places of work and give cross connections and references? And it's ridiculous. And then you've got these senators, these Republican senators, and they're like, oh, well, you know, we are so ashamed at America right now for its political process, and the Democrats are so underhanded with their inability to recognize how much they're hurting this man's life. And but never mind the woman who just came up and basically slam dunked all over your freaking defense about how she knew nothing and just she's mistaken and this is not. Yeah. She just basically annihilated this idiot. She just annihilated him. I watched that. I listened to it on the radio, and I sat in the bar, and I watched like the bartender gets up. She goes to change the channel. Notice I said she. She goes to change the channel. She turns it to the local news, and of course it's the Kavanaugh. It's a Kavanaugh hearing. She immediately cuts it off. Me and my buddy look at each other like, yeah, because we've been listening to it live on the radio. We knew what was going down. We knew it was bad, And like she just immediately turned it. And then the guy sitting at the bar next to me, he's like, oh, yeah, it's just a waste of time. They're just going to confirm him anyway. It doesn't matter. And I'm thinking to myself, I'm like, okay, so let's just say that I told you I was a rapist, and then I said, one time when I was a kid, I tried to rape a girl, and I didn't succeed, but right now I'm wanting you to consider me for a lifetime appointment where I may actually be in a position you have to protect women. This is what I want you to consider. And now I know you can't prove that I did this years ago, but it shouldn't matter to you. You shouldn't even consider it. You should just go ahead and just push me right through because this happened such a long time ago. I should just be forgiven for it. Who cares that for the rest of my life I'm going to make all the rules about how we treat people who go through these types of situations and have this. I mean, the abortion issue is directly about rape. Well, I mean, like, seriously, who can you think of that wouldn't be able to say, I want to have, my family member's baby, or this stranger who, you can't think of anybody who would say that. And society wouldn't even allow that. There would be such reprehension towards this person. But this guy who did this to this woman, he should be allowed to get on Supreme Court, and it shouldn't even be an issue. That's what the old guy said, right? And then I was chilling, and this older lady, she comes in and she says it's a waste of time. It's ridiculous. He's just going to get confirmed anyway. They're all the same. And I'm like, okay, so all these people in this room are the same. So the Democrats who have been fighting uphill to get this woman a minute to speak about this, they're the same as the Republicans who've basically said that her whole story, while it's heartbreaking, is irrelevant at this point. And we don't even need to consider it because we're going to confirm the dude anyway, no matter what misgivings or apprehension you have or we have or the American people have. Doesn't matter because this guy's going to get it anyway. And they're the same. And I think that's what strikes me the most about this whole situation. Americans have gotten to the point now where they don't even think about the repercussions of allowing an alleged rapist to get on the Supreme Court without any kind of real scrutiny, other than a bunch of old dudes talking about how it should be allowed, because if it wasn't, we'd be treating potentially innocent people horribly. I mean, it's ridiculous. It's absolutely ridiculous. And the fact that people are sitting there actually debating about this, they're so upset that this had to go on TV all day. It's ridiculous. We sat there and watched about flight MH370 getting sucked up by a black hole for 3 weeks. For 3 weeks, we watched that. But we can't stand to sit back for one day and listen to, quite frankly, if that woman is lying, I probably don't think that I'm going to follow politics anymore in my life. I'll put it to you like that. If that woman is lying, I'm just going to go ahead and hang it up. That woman is not lying. Not at all. And like anybody who first off, she said that he worked at a Safeway. She gave the name of a location. She knows where that dude worked. She knows where my dudes work. It can easily be verified. I'm sure there's people who were around that Safeway in 1982 that are still alive today. Pretty sure there are some people who are still alive today and could give a first-hand account, yay or nay. But no, we don't want to do that. That's just a waste of time. That's a waste of time. It's ridiculous, man. It's ridiculous.
Yo, man, we share your outrage. Like I said, I couldn't turn away from the TV today. Although I think I did take a little 5-minute nap through the opening statement of Brett Kavanaugh. I mean, I couldn't make it all the way through. I took a slight nap, 5 minutes, then I woke up. But it's disgusting, man. It's despicable what we saw on display here Thursday in front of the Senate Judiciary Committee. Like you said, if she's lying, my gosh, I mean, I can't even imagine a situation where that woman is lying, you know, to risk what she's risking, you know, the emotion all look real. What she remembers, it all looks real. Like if she actually remembered every single thing from 36 years ago, that would look fishy. That would look suspicious. But that she has real memory, she has actual trauma, and she remembers like the most significant things about it, and the other things are fading away. That is how memories are formulated. That's how memories stick when you have a traumatic incident. So it's just ridiculous. Like you said, there's an investigation that could take place. I'm sure there are people still alive there that could have something to say. The Republican members, I saw many of them saying that, and also Brett Kavanaugh saying that, you know, it's like they don't need an FBI investigation because all the FBI is there to do is to, I guess, like reveal things, and we already have the revelation, so they're not needed anymore. I mean, well, they're not needed anymore. We have the Senate to actually go through the allegations. But that's not true because there's still things that need to be uncovered. There's still witnesses that need to be talked to. So you can't tell me that that no investigation and that there needs to be no investigation. That's all we need. 1 day of testimony and that's it. Not even talking about the other allegations against Brett Kavanaugh. Again, this is a circus, like you said. This is embarrassing. This is not just a stain that will possibly be on the Supreme Court for generations to come. This will be a stain on the United States of America.
I mean, Donald Trump's presidency has been a stain on America. I remember in the first few months of his presidency listening to the radio and thinking to myself just how disappointed I was. And because it's not even, like LBJ, sure, he was a closet racist. He was a crude man. You know, Jimmy Carter. I think Jimmy Carter was probably, as far as benevolence goes, he was one of the better presidents, but he was naive. Bill Clinton, Bill Clinton did he gave us third way liberalism, which has just wrecked the democratic ideology. Just pretty much wrecked it. I mean, you got George H.W. Bush and George W. Bush. I mean, one started a war because of fictitious weapons, and the other started a war because of nationalistic oil interests. Yeah, I mean, I could go back down the line, but I have never seen a president who is consistently fucked up on every single thing you ever hear him say.
I mean, I really don't have.
Yeah, there's not a lot to add, man.
I really don't have a lot to add to that, especially like how you capped that off, because I think at one point we were told not to focus on what Donald Trump says and just worry about what he does, and I think that was kind of done as a way to deflect how much he's actually fucking up beyond what he is saying. If Donald Trump was just saying fucked up things, or he was just saying things that were, uncouth, disrespectful, belligerent, and bullying, if he was just saying things in a manner that I guess lined up with all those things I just said, whether it be rhetorically out loud in speeches, at a podium, or on Twitter, if it was just him saying things, it would be different. But it's not him just saying things, it's how unstable his own administration is. It's him going about things with his administration with no sense of judicial prudence. I mean, we can talk about so many things, like the transgender ban. We can talk about the Muslim ban and how they had to roll it back so much that it has no teeth. Him trying to abruptly end DACA. His HHS secretary trying to cut funding from pregnancy prevention program. So all these things that he's trying to do are done in a way that shows he doesn't know what he's doing. So it's not just about Donald Trump being uncouth or Donald Trump being like just deplorable, as Hillary Clinton would say. This dude is like walking around like he knows what he's doing, and he's being laughed at. And this is kind of illustrated by his UN speech. Did you see that?
Yeah, I saw the room full of UN dignitaries laugh at a buffoon who was bragging about how he had done so much for America. Yeah, I saw it, and I looked at it, and I'm like, wow, I know when I go in tomorrow, there will be a lot of motherfuckers who would defend that, and they would try to bullshit themselves into thinking that they were laughing with Trump. They were laughing at all the little people. I mean, that's basically how that whole argument, that excuse, that he tried to use to placate that moment. He said, oh, they weren't laughing at me. They were laughing with me. They weren't laughing with you, idiot. They weren't laughing with you at all. You got up and said some outlandish shit everybody knows is not true, and they laughed at you because of it, because you were a buffoon. And if it happened to anybody else who wasn't the president of the United States, they would be embarrassed, and they wouldn't even want to talk about it. Maybe that's why the dude wins all the time, because he doesn't give a fuck. But see, that's dangerous. That's dangerous because as soon as he runs up against the one dude who could take him out, politically or whatever, he ain't going to know how to act, because he's a one-trick pony. His only trick is to be as much of an asshole as possible, as long as he's got somebody who can take the heat for him. But see, on the world stage, you're not dealing with like concrete black and white situations. Shit can get real fluid real fast. I mean, you're dealing with a guy like Putin. Putin killed somebody last night. I'm convinced. Okay, Putin is not somebody's bitch. He's not going to be like, oh yeah, I'm just trying to help America. No, like I say, every time, all the time, Russia wants its pound of flesh. And this dude's an idiot. Like, this dude is just straight up dumb, and every time he says some shit, you know that the people who don't like us, they go to bed happy because they realize we are being led by a buffoon. And it's only a matter of time before they catch him in something. If they don't catch him in something, our economy will catch us in something. If our economy doesn't catch us in something, our society is going to catch us in something. We don't want to talk about the environment. But you know what I mean? Like, the shit that's snowballing out of control right now, people have no idea what the gravity of it is. They have no idea. I haven't seen a calm storm all summer. My basement flooded 3 times. I just watched a Category 4 storm stand over North Carolina and South Carolina for a week. And people are like, fuck it. It's just rain. Stupid, bro. Stupid.
Go ahead and throw that mic down, Court.
I don't know if we have, like, enough mics
I'm saying,
to
man.
replace the ones he already done thrown down.
No, right? We got to keep buying.
We got to keep buying new mics, man.
Nah, man. Like I said, we appreciate your comments, man, and definitely glad to hear from you again, Court, man. You bring a lot to the show. We love your perspective, man, and like I said, man, thanks for being a part of the show, man. We're going to get to the next caller, but we hope to hear from you again soon, Court.
All right, fellas, y'all take it easy.
All right, you too, man.
Easy, man.
All right. So before we get to the next call, I just wanted to read a comment that I saw, and don't hang up. We got somebody waiting. Don't hang up. I just wanted to read this. I think it was from Gene. Let me see if I can find it here. Yeah, okay, so Gene said in the chat section, she said, I love that so many men see what is wrong here. Warms my heart. I just want to say something real quick. Like as a human being, I think we should all see when something happens. Like when people who are victimized are not being supported. And that should rub us all the wrong way. Now, as being a man and me seeing, like, that this is consistently an aspect of toxic masculinity. Like, this is an aspect of men for generations that they just discount the words of women. They discount the feelings of women. They just discount their stories generally. And like I said, as a human, it does something for me. But then as a man, it's like, it's disgusting, man. It's not hard to advocate for people who need to be advocated for. It's not hard to see pain and want that to end. It's not hard to be an advocate for justice, you know? And like I said, it's just disgusting to see that over the course of many generations, specifically men, that's something that's always here. All right, so we're going to get to the next caller, 505 area code. You're on the air live with LTMB.
Hey, it's Angie from Albuquerque.
What's going on, man. Angie?
Hi, how are you guys?
Good, how are you doing?
I'm hanging in there.
Yeah, you couldn't say good, right? I understand.
No.
I understand.
Oh, my God.
Yeah. Right.
I also want to say thank you to you guys and to Court and to all the other men who really get this and see everything. It's just wonderful as a woman to have that kind of support, as anyone that's marginalized in society knows that. When you get that support and you have those allies, it feels really, really good. And thank you.
Thank you. Well, we appreciate you saying that, no doubt.
Yes. And okay, so your coverage on the Ford Kavanaugh stuff has been so freaking good. Thank you so much. It's amazing. And one of the things I wanted to point out that just really bothered me today is he lied like 5 times. He contradicted prior statements to the press and that he had made to the committee, and they were blatant lies. It was ridiculous. And everybody knows what a frickin' devil's triangle is, please. I played all the quarters game. That was never a quarters game. Hello.
I did see him say that. Yeah.
He's a bad liar too. He's not even a good liar. But what astounded me was he spent 43 minutes talking about this pristine reputation that he had built over his entire career and life as a man in this country. And then when he's afforded the opportunity to actually clear his name and restore his reputation, he doesn't take it. Who does that?
It's true. That's very true. Yeah, he
yeah,
lashed out.
And it does
time and
seem
time
like
again.
it does seem like overkill for him to go so long talking about how esteemed he is. Like, why does a person have to constantly do that? Usually when someone goes about, I guess, promoting who they are as an upstanding person so hard, seems like a cover up for something. You know what I'm saying? And I can and like, this is not to like sympathize with him, but to just kind of like maybe open up what type of environment like he was in as a youth, and what type of, I guess, upbringing he had that kind of promotes environments like that. Like, not to take away any agency of his, but there's still has to be something, like, I guess, looked at in regard to why environments are created like that. Like the one he most likely was engaged in, the environment of heavy drinking and like I guess the expressions of sexuality that they used, the toxic expressions of sexuality. You got to think about, to me, this is how I looked at it. I'm looking at this kind of environment that's set up that's very rigid. You have these private schools, these Catholic schools, where they set up everything so pristine and rigid, and you have to behave in certain ways. You have a reputation to maintain. Your parents are setting this up for you to maneuver you into some sort of lifestyle of prestige and power. So you have to maintain this kind of these very superficial and kind of this false identity of, I guess, purity. So all these environments are set up so that it gives their families and them this appearance of being very upstanding individuals, and they have to maintain this false, like, I guess, line of thinking and line of behavior. And then what happens is they want to express themselves in ways that are very extreme because of their very nature of who they are being suppressed by these environments. So they have to overdrink, they have to overparty, they have to engage in these toxic sexual games and this toxic sexual activity, and making a game out of people and making a game out of like just like each other, because that's the only way that they can like express themselves in a way that fulfills their need as a human being. They're just being repressed so much. Say that again?
Repressed. That's perfect.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah, it just seems like they repress people. Go ahead, my bad.
Yeah, Shakespeare actually wrote in Measure by Measure, or Measure for Measure, in Act 2, Scene 4, there's a conversation between a powerful man and a woman whose brother's on death row. And she goes to him and pleads his case, and he basically says, if you'll sleep with me, I will do that. And she says, I'm going to go tell everybody you said that so they know what kind of a person you are. And he throws back in her face that he'll put his reputation up against her word any day. Nobody's going to believe her.
I remember that.
And Shakespeare wrote that. We're talking 1500s. And we're still dealing with the same thing as women. I mean, it's beyond frustrating, as you guys well know. It's frustrating to be dealing with these same issues in 2018.
Mm-hmm. You would think you would just think that we would be more advanced. Everything advances. Technology advances. We learn more about
humanity is just going backwards.
Yeah, exactly. Goes backwards or stays the same,
Well, you guys can't ever stop doing this show. I don't care if we're like, if we only have 200 people watching every week, we all keep each other sane. And I can't even imagine how much we're going to need that going forward, at least for a long, long time.
Well, we appreciate that. We always appreciate your support. Definitely, man. You're a long-time viewer, long-time supporter of ours.
Man, for real.
Like I said, man, we appreciate that immensely.
All right. Thanks, guys. Have a good night.
All right. You too, Angie.
Appreciate you, Angie. And also, we don't want to close the show out without mentioning the individuals who have contributed some much needed funds to us through Super Chat tonight. We really appreciate y'all. Trudy, Angie, Gaillard, and Art. We really appreciate y'all contributions and increasing our net worth significantly. Appreciate that. I'm not, man, I'm dead serious, bro.
Increasing our net worth, right?
Increasing our net worth.
Well, the shows, I guess. The show's net worth.
The show's net worth.
We ain't making no profit on this.
We broke broadcasters.
But yeah, definitely appreciate all y'all that contributed. Trudy, she included the message, why would she risk her life, her career, her family, and going to prison to, I guess that means to accuse an innocent man, or to lie about an innocent man. There you go. And that's what we think too. It makes absolutely no sense. She came across as incredibly credible. There's no part of her story that I doubt. There's just no part of it.
Because it's not just about her story. Like, when we talk about people coming forward with allegations, is there some sort of unconditional belief that we have anytime someone comes forward? No, we just take the time to listen. Mm-hmm. You know what I'm saying? We take time to listen to their story. Yeah. And occasionally there may be some stories that are unbelievable, mm-hmm. occasionally. Mm-hmm. But with this case, it's not just her account that's believable. It's all the stuff that surrounds her account, the details that surround her account, as well as the actions of Republicans in response to the allegations that have kind of spoken to us.
Yeah, like you said, the key word I think you said is listening. See, because she wants to be listened to, right? And she wants to be heard not just by the Senate Judiciary Committee, all the senators. She wants to be heard by an FBI investigation. She wants everybody heard. Now, if everybody was saying the same thing as it pertains to this issue, then we could have a real conversation. Then I think we could actually arrive at the truth here. Or we could at least arrive at, okay, should we hold this against him or not? Because at the end, they both sound credible. They're both doing things that make it sound or seem like they're credible.
But
we don't have that.
We don't have that. We see one side
becoming completely forthcoming.
Being forthcoming, and the other side looking like they're floundering severely. Yep. I don't know, man.
Angie, she said, great breakdown of the hearing today, guys. Thank you very much, Andy. Angie, what did I say? Angie.
We had a last minute one coming in.
Oh yeah, we have a few new.
Come in later.
We have a few new. Warren Fry said, great callers tonight. Thanks for all that you do, Will and Mike. Thank you very much, Warren, for contributing and the message. And Malicious came in. Toot. It's a toot. Toot. Okay. All right. Okay. Appreciate that, Malicious. No doubt. Appreciate all of you. We do have one other caller that just made it in. We have a few more minutes, so we're going to take this caller. It's from the 562 area code. You're on the air live with LTMB.
Hi. Am I on?
Yes, hello? You're on with LTMB.
First off, I'd like to say, I love you guys. You guys are awesome. My name is Sav, all the way from California, Downey.
Did you say Charles?
No, California in Downey.
No, I was saying your name.
What's your name?
Sav. It stands for Sebastián Alejandro Arrequedera, but I call by Sav.
Sav.
Okay.
My question is, I remember you talking about this on the show. And I want to know, like, how would you say, like, people? You guys said, like, if a third party candidate does not have a chance, we should not vote for them, or should we still vote our conscience and try to get them to still vote for them and try to get them to that 5%? If there's like another thing that's in stake, like Hillary and Trump, like another Trump situation in stake again.
Well, okay. Well, I guess it depends on the race that you're talking about. If you're talking about a national race now, if you're talking about a federal race like the presidency, coming in maybe 2020, and you're talking about, okay, maybe we have the Green Party nominee, maybe it's Jill Stein, maybe it's somebody else. Do we vote our conscience? Do we vote for that platform that, seems to represent us and we believe in? We believe in the Green Party not taking corporate money and all of that. The thing about it is, I'm just going to speak for me. Mike can have his own take. For me, I believed that way in 2016. That's why I voted for, Jill Stein. That's why we, promoted her. And we thought that realistically, she had a really good shot of getting to 5%. Now, she didn't come close. That was the goal. We had no illusions that she was, going to be in the running for actually winning. We thought that was a really significant hurdle for her to, to eclipse. But we thought that it was realistic at least to get to 5%. Now, again, it didn't happen. Going forward in 2020, at this point in 2018, I don't see that being a reality. I don't see that any third party could actually get to that 5% number. I don't see that the Green Party can do it. Now, we don't know who's going to be the nominee, but at this point, I just don't see that being an option. I mean, if Jill Stein couldn't eclipse that number when we had two awful candidates in Hillary Clinton and Donald Trump and every reason to try something different, if we couldn't do something different in that type of political environment, then I just don't have any reason to believe that can be done in 2020. I'd have to, like I said, that's just what I believe in 2018 right here in September. I don't know who's going to be the nominee for the Green Party. I've stated before that it's going to have to be somebody that has to be, they're going to have some kind of clout, some kind of celebrity, some kind of pull, some type of ability to actually rein in the funds, all the the donations, the contributions. If that is the case, then it might be likely that they could do that. But without that, if you have somebody like Jill Stein who isn't really a national figure, she just has really good ideas, and I think she would make a good president. But without that popularity aspect, there's a limit to what she can do.
Yeah, I'm kind of on the same page as Will on this one, because like he said, the soil was rich for a third-party candidate in 2016, with Donald Trump and Hillary Clinton being our two main choices. And we thought, as Green Party supporters, people that supported the presidential representative for the Green Party and Jill Stein, we thought that this year was the year that we'd get to that magic number. That's why we put in our support for her and not Hillary Clinton, and didn't elect to go with the lesser of two evils, because we thought this was a ripe time for the Green Party to get to that magic number, to get that funding. And that did not happen. And there's reasons for that not happening, and which Will hinted at, is that the Green Party does not really have a household name. And because of that, they constantly, they constantly go through these periods where there's no visibility, where they have no visibility, and that hurts them when it comes election time. Now, we're not telling you how to vote. This is just like how we felt we needed to approach politics after 2016. I can't tell you like how to vote. It's up to you. We're just telling you where
I
we
totally
are.
understand
You see what I'm saying? Like, and honestly, I can't even be mad at you if you continue to vote the way you do. You see what I'm saying? I can't. You're only ready to do something when you're ready to do something. So I can't even like try to like shame people for voting the way they do. But when you say like vote your conscience, well, to me, a part of my conscience is progress. Part of my conscience is moving forward in some kind of way. My conscience involves winning. So if I'm voting my conscience, it involves more than just me feeling good. You see what I'm saying? Because yes, a part of like voting is about, if part of voting is like voting for the right person and feeling good about that vote. But if it starts to not have an effect on elections, you start to become disenchanted, and you kind of have to look at the reality. And that's what we're looking at.
So would you
right
say
now.
that for the 2018 elections? Like, if like a Green Party candidate has a chance, like over here in California, there's actually 3 Green Party candidates that actually have a chance to make the congressional seats. One of them's Kenneth Mejia. One of them's Rodolfo Cortez Barragán. I don't know the next woman. But, like, should we still vote for them? Because, like,
no,
at least...
no, yeah. If they have a chance, vote for them.
Yeah.
If they have a chance,
exactly.
vote for their ass.
Yeah.
No, we're not saying just, like, wholeheartedly, unconditionally, just, Green Party can't do shit. Or, like, progressives can't do shit. Don't vote for them. Oh, heck no. If they have a shot in the dark, do it. Like, the people that voted for Cynthia Nixon. Like, if I was in New York and her, you know what I'm saying? And if I was in New York, I would have definitely voted for Cynthia Nixon because I thought she had a shot, at least a shot in the dark. And if you look at the numbers, she got trampled. But if you look at the numbers, she did pretty good.
Right.
So she may or may not have built something. So if you are in an area where the third party has built something, then by all means, if you think they have a shot, go vote.
Yeah, I
go
said
vote
before
for them.
that
Definitely
that whole vote blue no matter who, that junk is hot garbage. I hate that crap. I can't stand it. We don't consider ourselves Democrats. Now, of course, in most scenarios, we probably will vote for Democrats in most scenarios because, like I said, that's
totally understandable.
That's just the way it is. But like you said, if there's a Green Party candidate that actually has a chance of winning, like maybe you see some poll numbers, you see the support behind them, they're getting their message across. Hey, no doubt, we are totally in support of that, like wholeheartedly. We're just saying that, especially on a national level, the Green Party has not risen to that level yet to where they have anywhere near the support needed to actually challenge either one of the two major parties. And that's just the reality that we see.
And even if they kind of do, I guess, attain the ability to even, I guess, make a move or make cause a dent in this political machine, we still have to look towards reform.
Yeah.
As far as electoral reform, statewide and nationally, because as it is right now, even if like a Green Party candidate makes it, there's impediments there to keep that person from getting to that position.
That's something that we have talked about many times. The Electoral College. If there's just 3 competitive parties, nobody is actually hitting that magical number of 200. What was it? 270? Yeah, 270 electoral votes. Nobody's going to hit that number if there's actually 3 competitive parties. So something would have to be done before a third party actually, becomes as relevant.
I'm sorry. Am I taking up too much time?
No, actually, you only have a few seconds left. It might cut you off, but try to get it in. Go ahead.
No, it's okay. I just like to say, like, you're...
There you go. Yeah, cut them off.
Yeah, our time ended.
Yeah,
our session ended. But we're not in control of how long we get. If we wanted more, we had to pay for more or something.
Yeah, I think we have to pay for more.
So we get a certain amount of time on Zoom.
Right.
But man, we appreciate your call, man.
Yeah, definitely appreciate your call. I think that's the first time we might have heard from you.
That's so. Sav.
Okay.
That's your name?
Sav,
California.
California.
Okay. All right.
Definitely hope we hear from you again in the future. Like we stated earlier, we're going to be taking a little hiatus here for a couple weeks. And hopefully it probably will just be right at that 2-week area, and then we'll come back on that Tuesday. Because like we said, we have some improvements to make, and there's just no possible way to do it while we're doing the show, because this does take a lot of time to prepare, especially today. My gosh, just going through all the testimony, getting the clips, and just the images that we were showing. That's why we were a little bit late, because we were just trying to get everything together. Like I said, we just want to make this a little bit more seamless process, invite more people into this atmosphere, so they can join the community. We want to boost up our numbers, so that's what we have in store. But appreciate all of our callers for calling in and being a part of this program, and definitely appreciate everybody that contributed to the program tonight as well. Shout out to all of our patrons on patreon.com for, always consistently supporting us month after month after month. It's because of you that it has allowed us to make these improvements that we want to make. So
that's your hard-earned money, yo.
Exactly, and that's, like I said, that's what we're gonna be using it for. So when we come back, we will be with the new software. We will probably have a different background. Yeah, maybe some different graphics or something like that. Try to do a little bit, some things differently. And then also with the new software as well, it will make it much easier to actually interview people, because we have said that for months. Actually, we've said that since
years. Actually, 2 years.
Yeah. Going back to the very beginning, we'd be like, yeah, we got to interview some people, blah, blah, blah. And it's just like we never have. With the software we have right now, it's possible. It'd be a little.
We don't need any more like red tape.
Yeah.
We don't need any more red tape trying to like block us from getting to where we need to get.
We want this very seamless. We want this easy, smooth, because like I said, it's only us, and we got to control the software too. So
we just want something that a little bit easier to do what we want to do. We need as a little snags in this process,
right,
as possible.
If we had a third person actually controlling all of the functions, my gosh, man, I'd be chilling like this, man. I mean, hands off.
Better start training up Simone, man. Say you want to eat tonight?
All right.
Okay, then get on them controls.
All right. Well, yeah, I think that's all we have. Yeah, man. I'm just gonna be interested in seeing what happens tomorrow. Maybe if some news pops off tonight and what they're gonna do tomorrow. I don't know. Angie said, "Can I come by and visit and be a guest?" Hey, you're welcome. Okay.
Oh, for real.
Hey, I know you in New Mexico, I believe, though. So it's quite a haul to get all the way over here to South Carolina.
That's Walter White country.
That is
Walter White country there, boy.
Right. But yeah, like I said, we're gonna take that break, but we still will be active. Facebook, we post time to time on Facebook. We'll try to clip some of these, some of the video from this episode out and post it this weekend. But like I said, we'll try to make some short videos too during this 2 weeks, so that we don't just leave you just high and dry and without any content whatsoever. I'm sure there will be stuff going on that we'll have to comment on, especially this hearing. Laquan McDonald, I didn't check it, but I don't believe. Yeah, I'm sure I would have heard that if that case has been settled. Like if they came to a verdict or something. I don't believe they've come to a verdict yet, so that's definitely something that I'm keeping my eyes on. What else? Rod Rosenstein. That meeting was postponed for today.
Postponed because there's other pressing matters.
Yeah. So I don't know if they're gonna, meet tomorrow or what. Like I said, there's many things that definitely we'll have an opinion on. So we will be around, no doubt. But we will definitely miss you guys. We'll miss doing this show for a couple weeks, but we think we'll be better for it, and definitely want to get this done before the midterms. Definitely.
Yeah.
Because that's gonna be a chaotic.
That's gonna be a chaotic time and a long show.
Yeah.
Long broadcast.
I assume that would be a very long broadcast. Yeah. Because there will be so much to actually deal with. So we're gonna sign off, man. We're gonna sign off. Last show for a couple weeks.
I know,
man.
For a couple weeks. I know.
It's gonna feel weird.
It is gonna feel weird.
It's gonna feel weird, man. Not actually preparing for a show, it's gonna be feeling weird, man.
Probably work on some music, man.
Work on some music?
Yeah, I work on some
music. Okay, some fresh new tunes.
I'll work on some music. Yeah. I'll have maybe like 4 or 5 fresh songs. 5 or 6 maybe. I don't know, depending on, man. Sometimes be cranking them out quick, depending on how I feel. Because I can't just like get on and just be like, I'm going to do this and this and this and this. I'm going to do this and this. Like sometimes it just comes.
Right. You got to feel it too.
Sometimes I just don't feel it. So, but yeah, I'll probably make some music or something.
All right. Gene, good night to you too. Good night to everybody. Grandma Christine, Angie, Ryan. We just see Ryan talking. Trudy. I think I said malicious already. If I didn't, malicious. Grandma Christine. Thank you all, Mr. Dead. Thank you all for being engaged in the chat section and like I said, making this what it is. So with that,
bid you a farewell,
yeah, man,
for a couple weeks.
Just for a couple weeks,
yeah,
man. But we'll definitely be back, man. So everybody take care. Have a good night. Have a good weekend. Have a good couple of weeks. And we'll see you. All right. Peace out.